Well, I have to say, Phoenix, I'm impressed. Not everyone takes on a murder trial right off the bat like this. Most people don't, unless they live in the Ace Attorney world, where basically everybody starting off their law careers had their first trial be a murder trial. Even Phoenix's old boss had to represent a client charged with murder for her first case. You mean you knew the defendant before this case? Yes. Actually, I kind of owe my current job to him. He's one of the reasons I became a defense attorney. This doesn't exactly create conflict of interest, but it's not usually a good idea for a defense attorney to represent a longtime friend of theirs for their first case. Emotional connections may get in the way of the argument. Aw, Nick, you gotta tell me, who took my baby away? The person responsible for your girlfriend's death. The newspapers say it was you. Having thoughts you should never say out loud. My name is Phoenix Wright. Here's the story. My first case is a fairly simple one. A young woman was killed in her apartment. For a murder trial in itself, yeah, it does turn out to be a simple case. But for a first case as a whole, I don't think it's that simple. Our school had a saying, when something smells, it's usually the butts. In the 23 years I've known him, it's usually been true. According to Larry's profile, he's 23, and as we learn later in the game, Phoenix is 24. That would mean Phoenix was only a year old when he met a newborn Larry. Does that mean even straight from the womb, Larry's been getting into all sorts of trouble? Also, I have this to say about the profiles in this game. We gather the character names and a general description of them based on how we've interacted with them, but for most of these characters we meet for the first time, where do we get their ages from? I can understand the victims because of autopsy reports, but everyone else? Is it just an estimation on Phoenix's part, or are they just spot on? Mr. Wright, given the circumstances, I think we should have a test to ascertain your readiness. This is for the game's tutorial so we can learn about how stuff like evidence and the court record works, but a real-life court would not give you such tests, even if it was your first trial. Please state the name of the defendant in this case. Is the judge suggesting that Phoenix may have amnesia? A bit early for that one. The defendant's name has been stated a good number of times before we stepped into the courtroom. Even as we started the proceedings, you stated the defendant's name, plus the fact that Larry is Phoenix's childhood friend. This one's a gimme. The defendant? Well, that's Larry Butts, Your Honor. Correct. Just keep your wits about you and you'll do fine. What's that supposed to mean? I answered your question correctly, did I not? That comment was kind of unnecessary. This is a murder trial. Tell me, what's the victim's name? I know this one. Glad I read the case report cover to cover so many times. Wait. Uh-oh. No way. I forgot. I'm drawing a total blank here. I'm pretty sure Phoenix shouldn't be having a problem since he just stated in his thought bubbles that he read the case report cover to cover, unless he literally meant just the covers, like the little inside flaps of the book, 12-year-old Sean Spencer style. Wait, attorney's badge? Attorneys don't wear badges in real life. Also, this description's hilarious. No one would believe I was a defense attorney if I didn't carry this. Why not? Now tell me, what was the cause of death? She died because she was... She was struck once by a blunt object. The autopsy report states the cause of death was loss of blood due to blunt trauma. Nowhere does it state how many times she was hit. Ahem. Mr. Butts, is it not true that the victim had recently dumped you? Hey, watch it, buddy. We were great together. We were Romeo and Juliet, Cleopatra and Mark Antony. Didn't they all die? Phoenix is right and therefore would be amazing at CinemaSins. The victim was a model, but did not have a large income. It appears that she had several sugar daddies. Daddies? Sugar? Yes, older men who gave her money and gifts. It's funny to me that for a ladies' man, Larry has no idea what a sugar daddy is. That cheating she-dog? I'm gonna die! I'm just gonna drop dead! Yeah, and wanna meet her in the afterlife? I'm going to get to the bottom of this! Let's continue with the trial, shall we? I believe the accused's motive is clear to everyone. Just the fact that he's in a massive state of denial who's upset about his girlfriend dumping him would have been motive enough, but to drill further to reveal information that he is just now learning establishes pretty much nothing new. You've already got a solid case without that extra tidbit. On the day of the murder, my witness was selling newspapers at the victim's building. Please bring Mr. Frank Sawit to the stand. Oh, hello there, murderer from the opening cutscene. I quailed in fright and found myself unable to go inside. I thought to call the police immediately. However, the phone in her apartment wasn't working. Didn't you just say you didn't go inside? How would you know the phone wasn't working if you didn't go in?
Larry, why didn't you tell the truth?
Okay, earlier there was a prompt where you realized that Larry did in fact enter the apartment, and you're given the choice of either having him tell the truth or a little lie. I said to have him tell the truth, and that's just what he did, so Phoenix's thought bubble here doesn't really make sense. It also wouldn't make sense if you decided to stop the defendant from answering, because you were the one who signaled him to shut his trap, Phoenix. Your Honor, at the time of the murder, there was a blackout in the building. Aren't phones supposed to work during a blackout? Yes, Your Honor. However, some cordless phones do not function normally. The phone that Mr. Sawit used was one of those. Again, Sawit told us he didn't enter the apartment, so now we're saying he used the phone in the apartment despite the fact that, he didn't go in? You may begin your cross-examination. Cross-examination, Your Honor? Alright, Wright, this is it. The real deal. What exactly am I supposed to do? What do you mean, what are you supposed to do? You did pass the bar exam, did you not? But then you had to forget just for the game's tutorial. The autopsy notes the time of death at sometime after 4 p.m. There was nobody to find at 1 p.m. How do you explain this 3-hour gap? This is trivial. The witness merely forgot the time. Interesting counterattack, Mr. Payne. We're talking about finding a corpse 3 hours before it even became a corpse. 3 hours hardly seems like just forgetting the time. Hey, I saw it there, okay? That's a clock! Your Honor, if I may. Yes, Mr. Payne. As the witness stated, this statue is indeed a clock. The neck is a switch. You just tilt it, and it says the time out loud. We already know how Sawit came to this conclusion because after all, he was the one who struck the victim with it. However, even though it looks like there's a display on the base, when we hear the description of the clock, it sounds as if it runs on a more auditory revelation of the time rather than a visual one. Yet Sawit stated he saw the time rather than hearing it. Mr. Sawit, the sound must have left quite an impression on you. Understandable, since the murder weapon spoke just as you hit the victim. Yeah, that's understandable. He couldn't have expected it to speak, but I'm sure he'd also be confused as to why the weapon was 3 hours slow. Also, wait a freaking second! Where's the clock's display on this image? Ah! Wow, that has to be the most casual reaction to pain in your face I've ever seen. Your Honor, a moment please. There isn't a shred of evidence supporting the defense's claims. How the heck can you claim that? The fact that he heard the clock, which was 3 hours slow, should raise some questions. Questions being raised isn't the same as not having any evidence.
I think it's 8:25.
That certainly is a strange way to announce the time. Well, he is the thinker after all. So, we've heard the clock. What are your conclusions, Mr. Wright? What are my conclusions? We just heard that the time was 8:25 and we started the proceedings at 10 o'clock. How can it be 8:25 now? Why don't you work it out yourself, Judge? Mr. Payne, can you tell me what time it is now? It's 11:25. Ah! It didn't seem like we were in this courtroom for very long, but we were actually here for an hour, 25 minutes? Well, it may seem like that clock is running 3 hours slow. It proves nothing. How do you know it was running 3 hours slow on the day of the murder? The fact that you testified to it having been 1 o'clock when it was really 4 when the victim died, and also the fact that you knew the weapon was a clock before the matter was revealed in the courtroom, both of these facts very easily combine into that truth. But oh wait, the game has a piece of evidence that hasn't yet been used, so let's make Sawit desperate to get away with his crime and the judge useless. But Chief, it's over. I can't prove the clock was slow the day of the murder. Nobody can prove that. Well, yes. But that doesn't mean you can't still win. Try thinking out of the box. You know, for a game about finding contradictions to get to the truth, they sure have some instances of characters contradicting themselves. When Phoenix doubted even the remote chance of proving the clock was slow the day of the murder, Mia seemed to agree, saying, well, yes. But then she goes on saying, I can still win, I just need to think outside the box. Now, you just changed your response from, no, you're right, you can't prove it, to, you can do this, just use your head and you'll be able to prove it. All in the span of a second. Let's see this evidence that proves why the clock was running slow. This last prompt doesn't even give you any penalties if you pick the wrong piece of evidence. I could understand this being the first case in the series, but I don't know, man. This last one makes it look like you're just babying me. The victim had just returned home from abroad the day before the murder. As we all know, the time difference between here and Paris is 9 hours. Between where in Paris? Since the time difference is 9 hours, I would place the game's setting in the Pacific time zone of the United States. You're telling me you can't explicitly state out loud what the location is? Proof enough for you, Mr. Solid? Or should I say, Mr. Did It? Ha! Ha! I have to say, I'm impressed. I don't think I've ever seen someone complete a defense so quickly and find the true culprit at the same time. And you never will again. Not after this game. 2:32 p.m.? We were in that courtroom for 4 hours, 32 minutes? Even by game time, it didn't seem like we were in there for very long. Thanks, Chief. I owe it all to you.
Not at all, not at all. You fought your own battles in there.
Yeah, but you helped me find the truth of the matter, Mia. I would never have done that if you weren't there. You don't have to be so modest.
Congratulations, Harry.
Harry?
Yes, you. I can practically see the headlines now. Harry Butts innocent.
Wait, are we talking about the headline of a news magazine or a porn magazine? Also, why isn't Larry correcting her on the name? Thanks. I really owe you one. I won't forget this, ever. Let's celebrate. Dinner? Movie? My treat.
Oh no, I couldn't.
Hey, I was the one who got you off the hook.
Why couldn't Phoenix say that out loud? Or even better, why couldn't Mia have just reminded Larry who was the one that figured out the evidence that set you free?
Are you so sure?
Excuse me? Baking powder?
We never really know if our clients are guilty or innocent. All we can do is believe in them.
There can be miracles when you believe.
Say, how about dinner? On me? We'll drink a toast to innocent butts.
Eventually, it'll come to the point where we'll need to drink to even more innocent butts.
Off with his head!
There's a lot of buzz about the upcoming trial. I just don't feel safe keeping the evidence here. What exactly is this trial? It's never really talked about. The only thing we really know is that it involved Red Wyatt and his blackmail empire because it leads to his motive to kill Mia, but nothing else really.
Papers? Is that the evidence then?
Well, there's a possibility that it might turn out that way, yes. When I saw this line, I thought that must be an error in that it gave the line to Maya instead of Mia by accident. I turned out to be proven correct when I later received Maya's cell phone as evidence, which has the conversation recorded. The phone conversation in the court record is very much different from the one we see in the opening, such as the lines, "Well, actually, there's something I want you to hold on to for me." Again? What is it this time? Those lines were never spoken in the intro. There's even some lines that were just removed altogether, which could be interpreted as deliberate on Phoenix's part because it's not really that important. But anyway, for the line, well, there's a possibility that it might turn out that way, yes. They completely changed that line to, "I'll leave that one up to your imagination." Okay, she's basically saying the same thing, but they worded it differently, thinking there's no way in heck I'd figure it out. Well, guess what, Gabe? You can't worm your way out of your own contradiction that easily. You know, White is taking a pretty big risk by waiting until 3 minutes before 9 o'clock to attack Mia and destroy the evidence she was going to use. What if Maya walks in around that time? Sure, with all his power and influence, he'd still be able to frame her very easily. But just the same, Phoenix is also supposed to be there at the same time. So we got two matching witness accounts against one conflicting account, which in all likelihood may end up going against White. Except, oh wait, the freaking power and influence the man has all stem from blackmail. Call this a spoiler for the episode's culprit, but the game already shows his face in this cutscene. So that would mean 11 minutes have passed since White entering and Phoenix entering, between which White would obviously have to have left the scene of the crime. But what are the odds that the two don't run into each other during those 11 minutes? There was no way White could have known that Phoenix would be there as well because it was never mentioned in the phone call, so he's really taking a big leap. Sis.
Someone's there.
So, okay, when Phoenix entered, Maya was already near her sister's corpse. That would mean between White entering and Phoenix entering, Maya came in and found the body. Jeez, this seems like the biggest coincidence ever that Maya and Phoenix found the body, albeit one after the other, not long after the deed was done, and neither of them noticed the culprit, who must have gotten out of there fast after leaving the bloody note that incriminated Maya. It's not impossible, it's just crazy. Chief? Chief? Chief! We interrupt Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney to bring you Metal Gear Solid. There are some glass shards near the Chief's body. Must be pieces of the glass light stand lying broken in the back of the room. Interesting of Phoenix to make note of this, it just looks like the mess of the crime scene to me. Maya. Did Mia write this? This piece of paper is a receipt from a department store dated yesterday. And you look no further than the fact that it's a receipt, yet you take note of the broken light stand. Gotcha.
Police! Please come quick!
Well, what was that? Someone screaming from outside the window?
She's staring right at me! I guess White's original plan was to frame Maya, but April could very easily just pin Phoenix as the culprit and argue that he was attempting to frame Maya. But that's not White's plan, is it? It would have been genius, because with Phoenix being a rookie and not having the evidence he needs to prove his own case when he tries to defend himself, it's shaping up to be a pretty easy lose.
Maya. So Mia was writing this girl's name. Maybe I should show her the receipt.
First of all, Phoenix, why would Mia write her sister's name in blood? Wouldn't that implicate her in the crime? Second, why would you show this to her? And yes, you're required to show it to progress the story. Hate to say it, but first game Phoenix is kind of a jerk.
Alright, I'm Detective Dick Gumshoe, see?
Gumshoe. What an odd name.
Hey, your name isn't any less strange.
They're never going to believe me, are they? Even you, when you found me in the office, you looked at me like I had done it.
Never look back, darling. It distracts from the now. But at the same time, I can't just sit by and watch. When I think of the person who did this to Mia.
I know.
Basically, the conversation was Maya asking if Phoenix was going to represent her, but Phoenix is of course still only a rookie. If he's not going to represent the defense in this trial, he'd kind of have to sit by and watch while a more experienced attorney does the work for him. Oh, it's nothing strange, really. I'm a spirit medium in training.
A spirit medium? I'm pretty sure that qualifies as strange.
You're telling me, Phoenix. For a while, it seemed like we'd be living in a very down-to-earth society, and now all of a sudden we're bringing fantasy elements into this?
I have no one else to turn to.
Huh? Say, what about your parents? I see. Don't worry. Leave it to me. These lines make it sound like both of Maya's parents are dead, when in reality it was only Maya's father that's dead, and her mother's just disappeared and wouldn't be seen again until about 2.5 years later after Maya's first arrest. Look, this gets elaborated on in the future, even in the same episode, but I just wanted to point out how funny this seemed. Okay, so after you cleared the talk options for Maya, the day of the crime option opens up again, which prompts a different set of dialogue where Maya basically just parrots the information she already gave you from the first time you select the talk option. Why did the game programmers feel the need to do this?
Sorry, don't I know you from somewhere? Wait, you're that butt guy, aren't you? No, Phoenix Wright.
How could anyone mistake me for Larry?
I don't know, somebody's gotta write up an unfunny running joke for the first game.
And don't go calling me Dick.
Hey Dick, get over here! Haha, you're sensitive about your short name because you're ashamed of your short.
She might have been your boss, but that doesn't mean you get any special treatment. Alright. You can see the report, but that's all.
Incompetent and lenient police representative cliché.
Okay, I can't be straight with this guy, but what should I tell him?
I know what he's talking about. He's talking about the cell phone that has the call recorded on it, but taking it out of context makes Phoenix seem not so straight. That carrying strap on the cell phone.
This? It says, the Steel Samurai, warrior of Neo-Old Tokyo.
Phoenix takes special note of a freaking carrying strap on his cell phone. He really is Sean Spencer. Yeah, you see, that strap is a collector's item. She was worried it might get lost if it went down to the precinct. A pretty wimpy bluff, considering that carrying strap looks kinda secure on the cell phone, but Gumshoe's an idiot, so it works, I guess.
Oh, witness? Yeah, Miss April May. I'm sorry about this, but I can't tell you anything about her.
Well, you just told me her name. Miss May, huh?
So, you sent her home already then?
You're trying your lawyerly tricks on me now. She's not to go outside the room until the trial.
So, she's still in the hotel across the way.
Would have been a lot better for Gumshoe if he never even brought up the witness, wouldn't it? Instead, he leaks 2 pieces of info about her name and her current location.
You're the lawyer, aren't you? The detective told me. He said, don't say nothing to that lawyer, pal.
But Gumshoe didn't know, or at least he didn't think Phoenix was going to represent Maya before telling April not to speak with him. So there's no way April could have narrowed it down to Phoenix being the lawyer in question. I need you to describe what you observed at the time of the incident.
Oh, observe, incident. You sound just like a lawyer in the movies. I like a man with a big vocabulary.
Jeesh, I bet she drools at the sight of Mr. Spock. But seriously, girl, you have a problem. Could you who exactly are you?
Ooh, Mr. Lawyer, are you hitting on me?
Okay, I'm starting to get the distinct feeling that April May was once a prostitute before she came to work at Blue Corp.
Right. Can you just tell me what it is you do? Well, no. And you had your little hopes up, didn't you?
Gosh dang it, it's like the game was listening to my prostitute comment from earlier and decided to play off of that.
So, Edgeworth is in on this one. He hasn't lost a case since he became a prosecutor at the incredibly young age of 20. Of course, there are rumors of back alley deals and forged evidence.
Both of those turn out to be kind of true in a way, though it's actually a lot more complicated than that as we'd later learn.
If that wasn't the most over-the-top clearing of the throat I've ever heard.
Just need to have some kind of character trait in here, am I right?
I'm terribly, terribly sorry, but I'm afraid that no lawyer worth their salt will take on this particular case. Terribly sorry, my boy.
Why?
I cannot say. I beg your pardon, but could you leave? Now, I've nothing more to discuss with you.
Wow, I've just been introduced to Marvin Grossberg and already I don't like his attitude.
That's quite a painting. Aha! You noticed! It's my pride and joy. Impressive, isn't it? Well, isn't it? The color of the sky, the hue of the sea, the weave of the straw hat. It's worth at least $3 million. I have no intention of parting with it, of course. No, I won't sell it. Not even to you.
Do I look like I could afford that painting? Of course I don't. Who are you kidding?
I really don't think you should use that guy. He didn't seem healthy. He was all skin and bones. What really happened?
I could see Phoenix as someone who doesn't want to hurt Maya's feelings, but it's a bit of a stretch to assume he'd lie at first, and a crappy lie too.
I had to become independent or I would lose my powers.
Really? Spiritual powers could just disappear from a lack of independence in your later stages of life? I can understand lack of training, but this?
The police were running out of leads and they were getting desperate. Wait, they didn't use a spirit medium, did they?
Wait, the police actually thought spirit mediums existed?
Wait, no, hey!
Why does it seem like every time I come here I end up embarrassing myself?
Get used to this for the next 12 years of your life, Phoenix.
I'll be using this bit of evidence in tomorrow's trial, that's for sure. For Maya's sake, I'll get to this woman's bottom. Wait, I mean, you know what I mean.
Why is Phoenix saying all of this out loud? Wouldn't it be better suited as a thought bubble?
The court accepts the statue as evidence.
They're still calling it a statue.
It's like the judge remembered this statue from my first case and wanted to label it as such, hoping the eyewitness would slip up and call it a clock, just like the murderer from my first case.
When my sister couldn't find any contradictions in a witness testimony, she would bluff it and press the witness on every detail.
First of all, it's not really a bluff if all you're doing is trying to get more information. Second, Phoenix should have learned this in law school too. But also, for the game's tutorial, it's a good thing we didn't need to press the witness at all in the first case, because this is the first we've heard about pressing. Why didn't you testify about this vital piece of evidence the first time? I know. I'm real embarrassed I forgot about it, Your Honor, sir. Funny if Gum should have said earlier that he had hard evidence, which was the note with the bloody writing that immediately led to the arrest, and he needed to be reminded of it after Phoenix pressed him about Ms. May's statement. A bloody note is not something you just forget. Why is this guy a homicide detective again? Well, what? This isn't one of those lawyer tricks now, is it? Of course you wrote it! Who else could have? I don't know, detective. Maybe someone with malicious intent against the defendant who got there first. You may think it's just like the movies where the name of the killer is left in blood, except most of the time it turns out to be fabricated evidence. This is no different. That autopsy report is outdated, Your Honor. What? A second autopsy was performed yesterday at my request. Death was almost immediate due to a blow from a blunt object, but there is a possibility the victim lived for several minutes after the blow. I received these results this morning. Dude, the trial's already started, and all of a sudden you give us an updated report, basically to say that this whole thing about Mia Fey dying instantly was not entirely true. I mean, if we pay attention to the opening after White struck her, Mia was saying red, white, blue before dying. So that means the new statement about dying almost instantly, or as the anime would put it, pretty much instantly, isn't false, but the presentation of the new autopsy has to be illegal due to how out of nowhere it was, and the fact that he had just got these results this morning. Mr. Edgeworth, I've heard there's nothing you won't do to get your verdict. What reason could you possibly have had to request a second autopsy report? Mr. Wright, the defense will refrain from personal attacks on the prosecution. In what way was that personal? I was just asking why you need another autopsy done on the victim. In fact, aren't you wondering the same thing? And Edgeworth doesn't even answer the question. We're just gonna act like that doesn't matter? This is a court of law!
April May, at your service.
Order! An introduction should not require any reaction from the crowd. The witness will refrain from wanton winking.
April will proceed to do this many times after and never be called out for it again because...
Well, Your Honor, I see. It is a remarkably solid testimony. I don't see a need to trouble the witness any.
Well, wait, Your Honor!
Yes, Mr. Wright?
What about my cross-examination?
I thought the witness's testimony just now was quite firm, didn't you?
Judge, you freaking moron. You could say the exact same thing about Frank Sawit's testimony sounding firm, and yet you let me cross-examine him without question. Why should April be any different?
There was only one person at the scene of the crime with a short, girlish figure. The testimony is bulletproof, Your Honor.
So that's why Edward didn't want me cross-examining Miss May. He didn't want me to point out his own incompetence and the fact that Miss Faye was wearing acolyte's clothing at the scene of the crime, which should have been the first thing to notice, Phoenix later points out.
What you said just now was quite revealing.
Revealing? Ooh, you'd like that, wouldn't you? Naughty Mr. Lawyer.
Careful with your words as ever, aren't you, Phoenix?
Ms. May, can you explain how you know this was a clock?
The witness saw the murder with her own eyes. That's all that's important here. The defense is trying to confuse the issue with trivial concerns.
Yes, of course. You will withdraw your question, Mr. Wright.
I already knew Edgeworth to be an influential man, having been raised by Manfred von Karma, but how low are we going here? Any other judge would have been just as curious as Phoenix is about how the witness was able to identify the statue accurately as a clock. And yet with this judge, Edward just says a few words that shouldn't mean anything against the question, and the judge nearly cuts me off. Why is he a judge again?
Let's hear the conversation.
So you just want me to hold on to the thinker for you then?
Wait, Maya never says this during the conversation recorded in the court record, nor does she ever say this in the prologue either. Also, just the fact that the two sisters had a conversation about 12 hours before the murder should be enough to question, why are we suspecting Maya again? There's no way any motive should be established for this, except that's right, blackmail.
A friend of mine made that clock. Only two exist in the world, and the one that isn't here is in police custody.
Thank goodness for the fact that you absolutely have to play the episodes in order instead of just picking and choosing. Otherwise, you wouldn't really have a clue. All it says about the thinker in the court record is that it was made by Larry Butts. That's it. Yes, this episode does talk about how a weapon just like it was used before, but no one ever speaks of how it was never in stores ever. If you didn't play the first episode first, you wouldn't have any idea how to counter the whole store argument, except for Phoenix's hint that it was a piece of evidence already submitted to this court. Miss April May, you knew the weapon was a clock because... As tempting as it would have been to say that she held the clock, A, we've already proven the clock couldn't have rung that night, and B, we already saw the killer in the opening scene. In the context of the story, Phoenix would of course not know who Red White is, but it still seems a bit silly to accuse April of the murder after what we as the gamer have already seen. Miss April May, you were tapping the victim Miss Mia Faye's phone, were you not? Your Honor, this is irrelevant! Making judgments already, Edgeworth? Phoenix is literally showing you a wiretap that was used to eavesdrop on the phone call. Even if that was the case, which it's not, you still have to prove one thing. Did the victim ever say that the weapon was a clock on the phone? Can you prove that? I think not. Edgeworth, you freaking idiot. How can you make the judgment that I can't prove it? I've already shown you the cell phone and even had you listen to a part of the conversation. The fact that I have it recorded means that all I have to do is play for the court to hear again, and then we'd have our proof. But then you go on and say, oh, you had us listen to a recorded conversation earlier, but you're totally not going to use that same recorded conversation to prove a point that everyone else in the court should feel like has already been proven.
Witness, answer the question. Did you tap her phone? Ms. May!
Shut up, all of you! What gives you the right to talk to me like that, you lawyer?
Ooh, how demoralizing. You address me by the very profession I have.
Now to deal the final blow.
Okay, it's silly, but I decided to just accuse April there, which actually caused her to confess to the wiretapping.
Iced coffee, you know, like normal coffee, but cold. If you don't drink it quick, the ice melts and then you have regular cold coffee.
Cold coffee does not sound regular to me.
It is my great displeasure to inform you that the witness appears to have been tapping the victim's telephone.
However, that is a separate crime with no bearing on the current case whatsoever. Dang it, Gabe, why couldn't we have played the entire phone conversation which talks about the evidence inside the clock? If the phone was tapped, that would give the one responsible some kind of motive. But since April only tapped the phone and actually has an alibi for the time of the murder, that should at least make her an accomplice. I'd hardly call that no bearing on the current case. Even Edgeworth wouldn't have been able to refute that if we were to play the entire recording in the courtroom, but no! The defense would like to call the hotel bellboy as a witness. There's something suspicious here, and I'm going to get to the bottom of it.
I think you're sucking quite low enough already.
I object to calling the bellboy.
Why? What's your reason?
Because I hold that the wiretapping had nothing to do with the killing.
That's no freaking excuse. I'm just checking Miss May's alibi.
If Miss April May's alibi is not called into question after you examine the bellboy, then you will recognize that Miss April May was not the killer, thus she is innocent. And thereby you must also accept the verdict of guilty for Ms. Maya Fey.
Apparently, Edgeworth sets this as a condition before he allows Phoenix to question the bellboy, but how can this be a condition? That's pretty much what's going to happen anyway if I don't find any reason to suspect anyone besides Maya. It sounds more like a warning than a condition, and it should be more like it's important for me to understand this warning before I proceed.
He certainly does look like a bellboy.
Yes, sir. I received your summons in the middle of work, sir. I'm happy to be of service.
That tea set looks rather heavy, so without further ado, the witness may begin his testimony.
Wait, we're not gonna get his name? Also, why is he carrying that tea set with him anyway? Couldn't he have just left that at the hotel?
I checked Miss May in personally, sir. Not only did I see her in all her stunning radiance, but I also heard her voice. And then I saw them, and I... Point being, I remembered her quite well, sir.
So this is not going to be a hold-up moment right there, considering what the bellboy is later revealed to have been hiding? He'd probably clam up anyway, but still.
Okay, this is really it now. This is my last chance. What do I ask him about?
It doesn't even matter here which answer you pick. You're gonna get to the same conclusion anyway. Where's the challenge?
Bellboy, tell us the truth now. Did Miss May check in with another person?
I object! That was objectionable!
I know Edgeworth's supposed to be a genius that would do anything to get a guilty verdict, but I don't know, dude. This seems more than just desperate.
Ah, yes, quite, indeed. It was the good barrister there, Mr. Edgeworth, who... He asked me not to mention it if I wasn't specifically asked, sir.
Oh! You fool!
I have a feeling this was the first time in his prosecuting career that Edgeworth was caught manipulating witness testimonies in court just for his guilty verdict, but now I wonder if he ever received any repercussions for this at all. We never find out, though.
I've done it! I won!
Premature celebration.
Your Honor, as has been previously revealed, Miss April May was tapping the victim's phone, yet Miss May herself has an alibi at the time of the murder. However, that does not clear the man that was with her. The bellboy saw no one else in the room at the time of the murder. My, what a convenient little setup, but it's too late.
This is more than desperate! Oh, no way was I in there for 4 hours, 24 minutes.
So, what happens with me? Do I get to go home now?
It's amazing she needed to ask this. A verdict hasn't been declared yet. You're still the prime suspect.
I asked for a full record of April May's testimony. I thought it might come in handy during the trial tomorrow. But now that I have it, I'm not so sure. Most of her testimony was all lies. In fact, there's only one part that hasn't been stricken from the record.
Yeah, not sure how helpful that would be. The only way it would help is if the culprit was stupid enough to say the victim ran to the left instead of to the right like April says. But what are the odds of that happening? Why did you place a wiretap on Mia's phone?
Oh, when you say it like that, it sounds so cold, so criminal.
Tapping people's phones is a crime, Miss May.
Oh, and I suppose you learned that in boy at school? Creep.
Apparently learning about law makes you a creep. A photo lies on the desk. Maybe I should switch it with the one I took? Wait, you're saying you can't just take both photos? Like, I get that Exhibit B is much more important to the current case, but Exhibit A is kind of important too, since Mia's been trailing White for some time after he forced her mother into hiding. Also, hi, murderer from the intro! Your efforts today can only help the Gatewaters rep, as they say. Huh? Rep? Yes, our reputation will swell as the hotel where the murderer used a wiretap. We can charge a premium for the room, of course. It will be great for business, sir. Whoa, Ms. May hasn't been charged with murder. Phoenix raised the point I was already going to make, but I should also mention this place will seriously get a boost just for being the location where a murder witness who had used a wiretap was served iced coffee. Oh, her? Sir, not to boast, but I knew the moment I saw her. She'd do it, I said.
Do what? I'm starting to think the most suspicious person here is this guy.
Or, betraying his own words, he is boasting.
I've always wanted to write an affidavit, sir. From henceforth, I shall be known as the bellboy who swore the affidavit.
First off, not to be a grammar shark, but if that's supposed to be a title, why is only the first two words capitalized and not, every word in the title? Second, just swearing an affidavit, no matter what position you hold, isn't something remarkable. Just how excited for himself is this bellboy anyway?
Where did you...
Aha! A reaction!
This is him, isn't it?
What? Who? When? Why? It is him. This is the man who stayed in your hotel room the night of the murder. No, that's not right.
Nice try, Miss Cooperative.
Do you have proof it was him?
Aside from your expression when I showed you the photo, that kind of told me everything.
Oh, fine. I'll talk. You win, lawyer.
Yes! Man, that felt good! It's great to be alive!
Why are you pumping your fists in the air?
Why indeed?
Splendiferous. Perhaps I have intimidated you with my giantesque vocabulary.
Or with the fact that you're the murderer from the intro?
My business dealings bring me into contact with the elite of the elite, so I'm afraid I'm not used to conversing with the wordily challenged.
I don't know, man. Given your choice to blend a bunch of words together into made-up catastrophes, I'm pretty sure you yourself are wordily challenged.
On the night of the murder, were you in April May's hotel room? Who can say? I seldom pay attention to mundane details such as time and place. My motto is, don't worry, be happy.
You totally didn't steal that from a Bobby McFerrin song.
In case you were wondering, Blue Corp was named after the color blue. I, Red White of Blue Corp, as founder and CEO, named it so. And why, you ask? Because I like the color blue, of course.
Are you sure it's not just to shamelessly play off your own name by calling your company Blue Corp? You know, just to complete the red, white, and blue of your own country?
He punched me!
And for what reason? Yes, he does explain that he can easily manipulate the court system in his own favor due to his immense power, but did he have to resort specifically to violence just to get his point across?
I don't expect you to understand. It is a world beyond your compensation.
Maybe it's just one of White's quirks, but compensation is not the right word to use. Does he mean comprehension?
You came here from Grody Burgers, I presume. Mr. Grossberg's? Yes, then you must ask him. Why is it that this painting of his hangs here? Perhaps then he will tell you.
Mr. White sets up his own fall with this. Mr. Grossberg, I know you and Mr. White are connected somehow.
Connected, you say? Yes, and I know what it is.
Haha, one of the options is you're lovers. If fan art of that actually exists, don't tell me. If it doesn't exist, I hope I didn't just inspire it. Though I guess it already exists. In that case, don't tell me!
He has information on everyone. It gives him an iron grip. He owns judges, attorneys, prosecutors, police, and politicians.
What?
They are bound, unable to do harm to themselves, and therefore to him.
Wait, Grossberg says something about these people unable to harm themselves, yet when we go to Mia's office later to find something on White, we find a bunch of suicide reports from people that wanted to escape Red White's blackmail. All I'm saying is, I'm not so sure about the harm to themselves bit from Grossberg here.
The DL6 incident was top secret at the time. It made sense. The police didn't want people to know they were using a medium. They couldn't let people know, but one person found out. I told him.
You told White?
He offered me riches. It is an embarrassment to me now.
I'm sure it is an embarrassment. I mean, this guy offered you riches to provide information about the DL6 incident that he shouldn't have had access to. Yeah, he runs an information gathering conglomerate that gets what he wants via blackmail, but I don't know, this just seems like a stretch.
Let's see if there's a record in this file that catches my eye.
Don't expect Phoenix to stop making these bad jokes. At least he's not like a certain other jokester from later in the series.
Using the power that runs in my family, I held an audience with the dead. Finally, the names of two men surfaced. One was Marvin Grossberg, a lawyer who sold my mother's information for riches. The other was the man who sold that information to the press. This parasite, who makes his fortune on threats and coercion. His name is...
The record stops here.
When was Mia planning to finish that? Just before White killed her? But when we checked the TW section, we learned that the entire W section has been removed, but this record on Misty Faye wasn't? Oh look, I'm showing valuable evidence to the culprit that I can't even read myself. That's such a smart move that I hope to never repeat.
Mr. White, I know what you did to this politician.
Oh, how I miss the old Ace Attorney games, where the way to progress was less straightforward. Just as long as they weren't too tedious, this was alright. Just pick blackmail at this part and be done with it.
We won't be needing an escort from Mr. Rogg. Instead, please connect me to the public prosecutor's office.
Of course, sir. One moment, please. Why? That you? What are you doing calling me at a time like this?
We don't learn about the chief prosecutor until later, but it's funny that even after the original GBA release and the DS remaster which added that bonus case, as people pointed out, you still hear the male blip when the chief prosecutor is talking, instead of a female. You might say that Lana Skye wasn't the chief prosecutor at the time of this episode, but that can't be true because according to Rise from the Ashes, Lana Skye became chief prosecutor after the SL9 incident, which was about 2 years prior to the case's events, and Turnabout Sisters takes place 5 months before Rise from the Ashes.
ashes. I bet that the SL9 incident is the blackmail White has on her, which would make double blackmail, but anyway, how is this nail blip still present in the most recent version of the original trilogy, even after dialogue alterations were made to account for Rise from the Ashes? I'll point the finger at you, and you will be tried as Ms. Mia's killer. The case is as good as settled. No lawyer of any worth will defend you. I have friends in the local lawyers association, you see. You'll be given a lawyer so stupendously inept that they make even you look competent. But then I'd refuse that lawyer anyway in favor of representing myself. I guess White didn't think that far ahead.
Ah, butts! Hairy butt!
Right, actually. Phoenix Wright, and my friend's name is Larry. I just hope this running joke doesn't last much longer. An attorney was assigned to me by the state yesterday. I refused. I had an idea. Interesting how the idea doesn't backfire. Phoenix already knows about White's blackmail, so it wouldn't be too much of a stretch for an assigned lawyer to say, "Oh, White wants me to do it because he has a secret on me. Please help a brother out." Then again, we don't want to make Phoenix seem about as evil as White now, do we?
Great, they let you out of detention.
Just now, yes. It's all thanks to you. Now I'm afraid we switched places.
What? You mean you...
Why are you so shocked? You're seeing me in detention, aren't you? Couldn't you put 2 and 2 together and find out that the real killer pulled a fast one on me? The real question would be, how did he do it? Then Phoenix would answer. Times may change, yet with crime it's the same old story. In fact, it's gotten worse. Lengthy court proceedings are no longer realistic. Beginning a few years ago, a limit of 3 days was put on initial court trials, almost all finished in a day, most with a guilty verdict. Well, no freaking wonder we got a game series where most of the preferred outcomes are not guilty. We're just trying to balance things out here. Also, notice how only the first game has the whole 3 trial days thing in any of its episodes, and then every game after that had 2 trial days for the episodes. Kind of like Sonic. First game had 3 acts per zone before they shortened it to 2 acts.
Well, I guess this is it. Yeah, one way or another, this case gets decided today.
Wait, I thought trials had 3 days to get decided. Do we have to win today? Is White really that influential?
If I raise an objection, I have it on good faith that the judge will listen to me.
What, does White have the judge in his pocket too?
Why wouldn't he? Didn't Grossberg tell you before that White has immense power over the legal world? Wouldn't that include the judge?
The defense attorney isn't even here yet. They're not... I'll be defending myself.
What? I'm not sure why this isn't something Phoenix would tell Maya sooner, but anyway.
The prosecution may call its witness.
That went far too smoothly. Why didn't the judge ask Edgeworth why his witness didn't testify before? It's like he already knows why.
Of course he would. Maybe not entirely, but a bit of the power White has over the legal world has done this to people, so I wouldn't put it past White to try pulling something like this, too. All while hiding his crime of murder, of course.
My name is Red White, but my friends call me Blanco Nino.
Blanco Nino. Pretty much any white boy could have a nickname like that. Also, why Blanco Nino? In Spanish, the noun is written first, then the adjective. So white boy would be Niño Blanco. Also, the word Niño is supposed to have a tilde over the second N. It's like the difference between Nino and Niño.
If I can't rip this guy's testimony apart, I'm done for. Why do I always feel like it's the end of the world and I'm the last man standing?
With this particular case, Phoenix being the defendant, I'm pretty sure this is what the end of the world and last man standing looks like. The other 2 trials were nothing compared to this. The victim ran to the left, and you gave chase. Oh, how freaking convenient. I have a witness account to counteract this. I'm so glad I talked to the judge after the first trial proceedings ended now. You said the victim ran to the left, but that directly contradicts Miss May's testimony. She clearly stated that the victim ran right. Oh, it is simple. You have misheard her. That has to be the lamest cover-up attempt I've ever heard from any witness ever, even if it was spur of the moment. Left and right sound very different from each other. How could I have misheard Ms. May? The postulations of the defense are a distortion of the truth, Your Honor.
Indeed, they do seem a bit far-fetched.
Are these even attempts to remain inconspicuous about White's influence anymore? It's so obvious that White is suspicious after his account conflicted that of April's, not to mention the bellboy never saw White at the hotel. What's so far-fetched about White being in the Fay & Co. law offices? When you assaulted the girl, she first ran to the left, and then you hit her savagely. That is what I saw. Next, with the last of her strength, she ran to the right. You chased her and delivered the final blow. That is what Ms. May saw. You see, you hit her twice. Did White seriously have that little faith in Phoenix, believing there was no way he'd be able to counter that argument with an autopsy report? Or maybe he just thought Edgeworth would have yet another freaking update?
Oh, and speaking of the update, I didn't mention this before because it wasn't important until now. Look at this. Died from a blow by a blunt object. By definition, that would mean she was hit only once, but that's still a vague description. The first time, it was more specific. Cause, single blunt force trauma. I know you guys didn't have all the space in the world, but I'm sure you could have still fit that particular line in before talking about how the victim may have lived for a few minutes after being hit.
The witness is confused because he is lying. I emphatically request that there be no break, Your Honor.
Yeah, we want justice!
Don't let him get away!
Wow, even the gallery could tell something's fishy about this red-white fella. You better keep up, Judge. Edgeworth.
We'll see. I looked at the other window when I heard that thing fall.
Forget about him being vague when saying he heard that thing fall. What I want to know is, what is this other window he's talking about? The hotel room they were staying in only has one window.
Looks like we're about to get our verdict.
Haha, how cute. Expect this to be an Ace Attorney tradition. You think you've won, except the prosecution has more to argue that doesn't work in your favor. Usually the kind of arguments they pull out their butts.
I said you should confess to your crime. Ergo, confess that you placed the wiretap.
Was this part of White's plan too? If he's put in a corner about having been in the Fay & Co. law offices, he'd confess to the wiretap in place of Miss May? Either that or Edgeworth is really taking the doing anything for a guilty verdict thing so far like he has been this whole episode. In fact, he's done it so much, it's giving me the impression it's more than just the creed that's holding him back from sticking to the truth. It's White's blackmail influence, which is either over his involvement in the SL9 incident or the nightmares he keeps having about DL6. One of the two for sure. As you know, Mr. White is the CEO of Blue Corp. He ordered his secretary, Miss April May, to tap the law offices of Miss Fay. That statement has already been thrown out the window by the fact that you're now having White confess to the tapping instead. Is it meant to imply that Miss May, for whatever reason, defied the order? It was the beginning of September, the week before the murder.
Do you have proof?
Miss April May knew the details of Miss Fay's phone conversation. This proves that the wiretap was placed before the murder. Decent counter-argument, but is Phoenix really so desperate to prove his own innocence that he asked about proof of all things? Was it really you that went to the office, or was it Miss May? Unidentified fingerprints several days old were found in the Fay & Co. law offices. Those were obviously Mr. White's.
And if I know Edgeworth, he's already run a check on those prints.
So that wouldn't make those unidentified fingerprints anymore. Those fingerprints would have to belong to Miss May, contrary to what Edgeworth said. And if he did run a check on the prints, that would mean Edgeworth did fabricate evidence. This is worse than the updated autopsy report. I hope you got questioned for this after the trial ended. Why did you tap Mia's phone? This has no bearing on the current case, Your Honor. Yes, the heck it does. It was because of what White heard on that phone call that he went and killed Mia. But they don't know that because the game didn't have them listen to the entire recorded conversation even after it had been well established that the phone was tapped. Okay, I don't know if this is a glitch or not, but after you press all the statements you could press White on, you're supposed to progress the story, just like with the bellboy, but for some reason that just doesn't happen. Not until I scroll through the statements again without pressing, then the story progresses. I know it was like that in the DS remaster, but you'd think with the trilogy re-release they'd have this issue cleared up, but nope, they don't. Now, I want you to listen to me, Phoenix. Maya never gave up. You can't either. That's what I came here to tell you. But I'm just as confused as Phoenix. He admits defeat in court, he hears Mia's voice, he sees her standing by his side, he passes out, he's in the defendant lobby, and the trial's only on recess? He already said he's got nothing left. Why wasn't the verdict already declared? You have that receipt in the court record, right? Oh yeah, the one you wrote Maya on. Phoenix, White wrote that, not me. Yeah, idiot. Think right, think! 3 hours and 16 minutes have passed since the trial started, which is ridiculous, but when the heck did I pass out? That's my question. Your Honor, there is nothing to go back to. The cross-examination of Mr. White is finished. All that is required now is for you to pass judgment on the defendant, Phoenix Wright. You know, like you should have done even after Phoenix passed out instead of calling a recess. Your Honor, would you tell the court what is written on the other side of that receipt? Well, a glass light stand. And the date of purchase? Why, that's the day before the murder! Wow, I feel accomplished. We found a contradiction just by flipping over a piece of paper. Well, Mr. White, can't get out of this one, can you? No, it's impossible.
Uh-oh, he's losing it.
Given White's personality, impossible sounds like something he would have said anyway, but I'm not sure. There is a certain thread of logic to the defendant's claims. However, there is no concrete proof that Phoenix Wright is innocent. Who the heck cares? White's own words point straight to it. You are being corrupted by White just to say something that no judge in their right mind would accept. But guess what? In the world of Ace Attorney, judges are idiots. Though not hugely different from the real world, apparently. Phoenix, read this note out loud. Mia, what's this? Your Honor, if I may. You're quite persistent today, Mr. Wright.
You bet I am. My life is riding on this one.
I have something I would like to read to the court. Ooh, this is so tricky. What was it that Mia just handed to me not long ago? A memo that I can't even read, even if the description says it's a bunch of names in her handwriting? Now it bugs me because I want to know what name she wrote. Mr. White, admit your guilt right here, right now, or else this list will be released to the press. I confess. I did it. I hit her. I hit Miss Mia with the thinker. Case closed, Your Honor. Wow, I won the case by reading names off a sheet of paper. You've done it again. That was quite a spirited defense. Yes, Your Honor, I guess you could say that.
If only you knew how spirited it was.
So the judge isn't going to question the dead woman standing next to me in acolyte's clothing? No? Okay. What, it's been an hour, 8 minutes since court reconvened? No, that's stupid. Maya? Why are you here? Because of this. See? Mia wrote me a letter. I wonder when she got the time to do that. I thought Maya's powers are still weak, and we learned later that at this stage, Maya can only channel a spirit when under heavy stress, like when Phoenix admitted defeat in court. So between the time the trial ended and the time we met Maya in the office, when did Mia write this letter?
I'm surrounded by idiots.
See you in hell, evil magistrate! Whoa, wow, the Steel Samurai is apparently supposed to be a children's program, yet the censors let this slide? Yeah, I totally love to hear my kids tell each other they'd see them in hell. I know American media has let crazier things slide in children's entertainment, but still. Oh, Nick, I didn't know you were here. Of course I'm here. How could Maya not figure out, oh, Nick works here, he must be here? When they asked grade school kids what they wanted to be, Steel Samurai was #1. I really worry about kids these days. What, and see you in hell isn't your #1 concern at this moment? Mia's murder was the talk of the town for some time, but no one paid any attention to the Wright & Co. law offices. How funny, considering that it's now being run by the guy who cleared his own name for the murder of his former boss. Nick! Maya? What? It's still early. It's only like 8:14 in the morning, dude, or maybe you're just a heavy sleeper.
The actor Will Powers was arrested yesterday. Powers plays the lead role in the popular kids show The Steel Samurai Warrior of Neo-Old Tokyo. He was arrested on suspicion of murder. The victim was Jack Hammer, who plays the villain known as the Evil Magistrate. His body was found still inside the Evil Magistrate costume. The samurai spear was also found stuck through the body. Police believe this was the murder weapon and are investigating further.
Wait, hang on. Let me see if I got this right. The samurai spear that's used as a prop for the show is an actual spear? It's actually pointy and can actually be used to stab people with? Dang, the people behind the show must be some real troopers. No, it's a nightmare! The Steel Samurai is over! The world is over! Hyperactive fangirl cliche. The Steel Samurai is the lead character in a popular kids show. He walks the streets of Neo-Old Tokyo, fighting battle after battle against the evil magistrate and his minion. Of course, he never actually defeats the evil magistrate, although I guess he did defeat him this time. Ugh, I see.
Neo-Old Tokyo? Who comes up with these names?
Probably some American executives working on this localization that try to sound cool. That has to be the most bloodless impalation I've ever seen. I know that's just supposed to be the costume the victim was wearing. It's not actually a muscular bod, but the way it's presented in a black and white image just looks weird.
Hey, you there! You want in, you gotta go through me!
Whoa there, game. The old bag hasn't even introduced herself yet, and already we know her name. Except her profile in the court record just calls her security lady. Also, old bag.
News today. Something horrible happens and all you can think of is sightseeing. Wasting your time in a place like this? Don't you have jobs you should be doing? Or do lawyers not work like the rest of us? Maybe I should become a lawyer too. Sounds like a life of ease to me. No work, just loafing around all day as you please. Well, when I was young, things were a mite different, mind you. We didn't prance around in strange hippie clothes. What are the use coming to these days? My own son hasn't called in.
Great, we got a chatterbox, and it just so happens to be an old woman that misses the salad days when you needed to stand up from your couch anytime you wanted to change the TV channel. Or if she's older than TV, her profile doesn't specify her age, how about back when you needed to turn a dial on a phone in order to call someone? But anyway, I'm sure this old woman will be the only chatterbox this whole series.
This place has really gone downhill, you know. But 10 years ago, now that was a studio of dreams. Hammer was a big star back then, too, he was.
Hammer?
The victim, dummy. The evil magistrate. He's been reduced to playing villains now. Not exactly the best material to work with.
What? Playing the villain in a movie or TV show could be super cool. I mean, come on, Disney gave us some of the best villains in animated kids films, ranging from Gaston to the Wicked Queen to Jafar to Ursula to Yzma to Maleficent to Scar to Captain Hook. Actually, we're here at Mr. Powers' request.
I thought you were suspicious looking. Show me a letter of request and maybe I'll just let you in.
This is one of the dumbest parts of the episode. The amount of time spent on the investigation portions because you gotta backtrack just to get something the game doesn't have the common decency to just give you sooner when it would have been more convenient.
To think he would entrust his fate to use of such unreliable appearance.
To who exactly? A well-dressed man with an attorney's badge in his lapel and a teenage girl in acolyte's clothing?
Anyway, you may pass, but only left from here toward the studios. No going to the right. That's the employee area. No one allowed inside, pal, were my instructions.
And yet when I go to the employee area later, I have no issue. No explanation for why there's no issue.
What exactly are you two doing here?
Well,
we're on this case too, pal.
Huh? Hey, you can't just go around saying pal like that. That's my endearing character trait.
I'd say he's a character, all right.
Breaking the fourth wall. So, how's your investigation going, detective?
Well, hey, I can't tell you that, pal.
Nick, maybe you need to be a little more indirect with your questions. Right. So, detective, mind if I take a look at what you got?
What I got?
The autopsy report. The latest version, if you please. First of all, that seemed a lot more direct than how's the investigation going. Second, in the previous case, Gumshoe did give you the latest version of the autopsy report at the time. It's just that you didn't get an update until the day of the trial, thanks to Edgeworth. Lastly, yeah, let's get an autopsy report from the detective, which we are never gonna use. There's a number plate on the camera. ST1-307. When am I gonna need that, am I right? Looks like you need a card key to get in. It makes sense that they would want to keep the non-employees out. Except 1, a murder is being investigated in that area, and 2, it's forcing me to do some more backtracking. Nick, I'm hungry. You just had a burger. Yeah, but I have a separate stomach for sweets.
How many stomachs does this girl have?
This response only really makes sense if you examine the T-bone steaks in the employee area before examining the sweets in the dressing room.
Look, a ladder.
That's a step ladder.
So, what's the difference?
You need to stop judging things based on narrow-minded cultural assumptions, Nick. Right. Sorry.
This girl's out there.
Kinda lame how the debate wasn't just completely solved right there, don't you think? Maybe then we won't need to talk about it so much. Who are you?
Who, me? I'm an assistant here.
Wait, this girl never said her name, and yet we're calling her Penny? Or what the heck, Penny Nichols? Her full name and age are listed in the court record after she introduces herself not by name, but by job.
Actually, there's been something bothering me.
Aha! That's what I'm talking about. A clue. A lead.
Well, I don't know about that, but that day, just after noon, I sensed someone was here.
You sensed? Well, obviously, she was talking about that kid being in the studios that day, but what does she mean she sensed someone was here? She doesn't have any spiritual powers I know of, like Maya.
Oh, you youngins are like that nowadays. Run your mouths like there was no tomorrow, say this, that, and the other thing. Well, when I was young, let me tell you, we knew a thing or two about respecting your elders. Back then we did, and it's a crying shame that you used today to say what you please about poor old ladies.
She left. Well, Nick, this is our chance to do what we can without her looking over our shoulders. Checking the security data? But why are we doing that? Wouldn't that photo be shown in court anyway? Good thing we examined that security camera at the gate. Hang on, why is this in black and white? People don't take black and white photos anymore. Get with the times, Capcom.
Hey, Nick. Can't we use this photo as evidence for the trial?
Yeah, we'll put that security lady in her place with this. Right, we'll put her in her place.
Hey, that's what I said.
Anyway, let's show her this photo and see what she says. Didn't you just say we could use this for the trial? Wait, we started the investigation on October 16th. Every other episode had the trial the day following the investigation. Why is this one so special that it had to be 2 days after the investigation?
Now, on the day of the murder, October 15th, there were only 3 people there. The victim, Jack Hammer, the defendant, Will Powers, and a young woman, the production assistant. All the production staff were in the employee area until noon.
Of the 3 people mentioned, the young woman is so unimportant that we're not going to call her by name like the other 2. Also, you just said there were only 3 people there, and very soon after that, you say all the production staff is there. I mean, of course, the director was there to oversee it. Why that wasn't questioned until Old Bag talked about it later is beyond me, but that's besides the point. The point is, Detective Gumshoe contradicted himself. Also, it isn't mentioned that Old Bag was overseeing the run-through in the employee area until she testifies about it. Was it seriously that unimportant at the time?
Will the witness declare her name?
My, aren't you a handsome fellow? I'm afraid I'm a bit flustered.
Why is such an old bag as yourself being smitten with 24-year-old Edgeworth? Are you crazy?
On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 o'clock p.m. Poor old Hammer and the rest have been doing a run-through there since the morning.
At the guard station or the employee area? Details, old bag, details! Wait, why do I have to be the one to present the photo? It was Old Bag who gave it to the detective, right? Shouldn't the photo have already been submitted to the court before I even began my cross-examination? The prosecution would like to ask the witness. Please make note all the information in your possession ahead of time.
How was I to know everyone would be so nosy? You should be ashamed, all of you!
You are testifying as a witness in a court. What did you expect?
Anyway, I showed that photo to the young detective. He told me, this isn't any good as evidence, pal. He didn't even give it a second look!
Why would he? You're only revealing just now about how Powers broke his leg during rehearsal in your next testimony. Why would we be paying attention to anything about him dragging his leg in that photo? He broke a prop?
Sure did. His own samurai spear.
His samurai spear. The murder weapon?
Luckily, I was there with my duct tape to fix it.
How interesting that the duct tape doesn't come up until now, since it's right there on the spear. Also, why not also mention that because duct tape was used on the spear, there's a possibility that the spear was not the murder weapon. Oh, but then we'd have to work out what the murder weapon really was, and we haven't gotten that far in the case yet. This photo was taken by the camera at the gate for the studios, correct?
Yes, sirree, sonny.
So whenever anyone passes by here, it automatically takes a picture.
And here I thought you didn't know your head from a hole in the ground.
Right. Anyway, it's also true that the computer in the guard station records all security cam data. Get to the point, Phoenix! Yikes! Well, who in the heck was in that photo you erased?
A fanboy.
Fanboy? Steel Samurai fanboys. Real freaks, if you ask me. They get information about the rehearsals from gosh knows where. They're always hanging about. One was there that day. Yeah, where do they get the information? The internet? Why would any studio post information about rehearsals on the internet? I haven't seen anything about that in real life. Also, how close do these kids live to the studios to just go there with no problems whatsoever? A boy in 2nd or 3rd grade? I would assume it would be hard, if not impossible, for a young boy to wield the samurai spear. Impossible, I think. It's quite heavy.
Right. As I said, I didn't pay him much mind. That's why I erased the data.
Nick, what's going on? I mean, the boy was there. That makes him a suspect.
Yeah, and they're already trying to unsuspect him.
You know, you don't have to say that like you're going to direct suspicion to the kid just to save Powers. Maybe unscramble your brains and you'll come to the realization that there's no reason to suspect the kid, since the spear is so heavy, and with the scene of the crime currently believed to be Studio 1, which requires a card key to enter, you guys are just being jerks. The other person who went to the studios was a boy of roughly 10 years of age. In 2nd or 3rd grade? Unless this boy's been held back by a year or two, there's no way a 10-year-old kid should be in 2nd or 3rd grade. Also, he's not 10, he's 7. Well, why would she go through the trouble of wearing the Steel Samurai costume? Simple, Your Honor. She knew the camera at the gate would take her picture. If she was in his costume, she could point the finger at Mr. Powers. I see. Excellent deductive reasoning, Mr. Wright. No, that was just child's play that doesn't require much thought.
But why would I do something so horrible to poor Hammer?
You forget that Mr. Powers lacks a clear motive too. Yeah, and so did Maya and Phoenix when they were put on trial for Mia's murder. Just how lax is this legal system anyway?
What about the other person who went to the studio? The boy! The one whose photo I erased!
He's only a grade schooler though, as you said. 2nd or 3rd grade, was it?
That doesn't matter. When I was that age, I could pin my old man in 10 seconds tops.
Your thoughts, Mr. Wright?
Must I spell everything out?
We should have known something was fishy. How could they have done a run-through of their action scene without a director? Of course!
Yes, well, I was surprised no one asked about it.
Yeah, me too. Why did no one ask about it?
The director was in the employee area all morning for the run-through. He joined the producer around lunchtime and they had a meeting after that.
Where?
Oh, in the Studio 2 trailer.
Studio 2? There was a Studio 2?
Why wouldn't there be? If there was a Studio 1, obviously there'd have to be a Studio 2. Let me see. The trial started at 10. We had a 5-minute recess in between that started at 11:08. That would mean after the recess, we were in the courtroom for an hour 51 minutes. Considering what we heard in the courtroom, that makes 0 sense.
So, Nick, remember that Studio 2 we heard about at the trial today? It was down that path to the fallen tree, right?
Yeah? I'm not stupid, you know.
Looks like 2 people ate here. There's nothing left on the plates.
Hey, so they ate T-bone steaks too. How would Maya deduce that just by looking at the plates on the table in Studio 2? At least in the employee area, there were plates that had a boat on them. Also, this may not seem like a significant detail, but it actually is. That by itself wouldn't be so bad, except you're going to have to remember this detail. I'll explain the BS part of it later, but for right now, I'll say it's pretty BS. I hate having to repeat myself, but Nick here is a newbie lawyer, fresh off the bar. When he loses, he's going to lose big.
I see.
Whose side is she on?
My real question is, what does she mean when I lose? Doesn't she mean if?
Oh, well, I'm sure these things happen. Nothing to worry yourself about. You're right. I won't.
Personally, I think she should worry at least a little bit more.
Yeah, maybe Global Studios should start looking for more assistants.
Hey, Nick. If that drain's covered, the boy won't be able to get in.
Yeah, I think that was the idea.
I feel kind of sorry for him, though. Don't you?
What, you want to rip the grate off?
Really, Nick? We can?
Whoa, she's serious? Uh-oh.
The game's really giving me the option. If I tell her no, she won't rip off the grate. If I tell her yes, she will. I have to tell her yes in order to progress the story. But why should she even need my approval? Just have her rip off the grate by her own volition without needing Phoenix to actually approve. That sounds more in line with Maya.
This place is deserted.
Nick, what was that noise? It sounded like it came from inside the trailer.
This fetch quest is just for a key to the trailer kept in the guard station, which we can't access quite yet. Yeesh, this episode just loves taking us in circles, doesn't it?
WTF? Who are Jotos? LMAO?
Ah, the lead talk. Also, WTF and LMAO.
Whatever, lamers. How could you not know the great Salmonella? I make Talit shows. The Steel Samurai? Mine! RTFC? Read the film credits.
How do you do, fellow kids?
You know, on closer inspection. Yeah!
Okay, what the heck is this game? I knew this would be a kid's game, but holy crap!
You've triggered my creative powers! Yes! It's coming to me! The Pink Princess! The sequel to the Steel Samurai, Pink Princess, Warrior of Little Old Tokyo!
Seriously? You got that idea from Maya's Acolyte clothing? Also, I know that's just how Lead Talk works, but the way 3-4 is positioned after the R in creative makes me think of something that probably exists with Maya and Manila.
Now this, whippersnapper, this old lady never forgets a slight or insult, and you won't get any information out of me. My lips are sealed.
You sure are talking a lot for someone who's sealed lips. She sure talks a lot just in general. This is kind of nothing new.
What a rude little brat. That's no way to talk to an adult.
I don't see no adults here. Hippie fashion Jake.
What about the man with the spiky hair dressed in a blue suit? So you're a fan of the Steel Samurai?
How dare you wear that name, evildoer!
What do you mean? We're on the Steel Samurai side.
You can't fool me.
Okay, then what's the last line said by the innkeeper in episode 8?
Ha! Easy. Like some fries today?
Really? That was Maya's plan to try to win the kid over? Also, with that line, I wonder what the Steel Samurai as a show was like. We need a real-life Steel Samurai TV show stat!
Where's that old windbag?
Odd of her to leave her post.
Hey!
Nick, that was her!
Stop, whippersnapper!
Yeah, it sounds like she's chasing after that boy.
Natch!
Uh-oh, she tripped.
Maya sure looks happy.
Maya takes pleasure in pain to the elderly. I wonder if the key we borrowed from the guard station will work. It opened.
Great! Let's go, Nick!
She seems eager all of a sudden.
Well, yeah, the whole reason we wanted to go into the trailer was because we heard a loud noise. We just wanted to check if everything was alright.
Eek! Someone's in here!
Yeah, and okay, she's kind of dressed in dark clothing, but not sure it warrants an eek, Maya. Also, this is what we entered the trailer to see? That nothing happened? Dee Vasquez, the producer.
Dee Vasquez. She's quite beautiful.
Is she, though? Dressed up in dark clothing, smoking a pipe? Phoenix, we really need to talk about beauty. Also, here's something interesting to note. Dee Vasquez was originally supposed to be a male, but they changed the gender after realizing that every other culprit in the game has been male. Remember earlier when I talked about the dialogue blips in Turnabout Sisters? This is another instance where the blips you hear from the character is the opposite of the gender. If you see Manila, give him this. Why do we have to do your errands? Another unnecessary side task just to get the story moving?
Huh? Bring me the script for episode 13? Episode 13. Where did I put that one? I must have left it somewhere. Uh-oh, my butt is pwned if I don't find it.
Nick, it might be quicker to just look in all the places he's likely to have been. Or just ask him to retrace his steps and save us the trouble. It's not rocket science. We found your script.
What? Thanks! Still, I don't know. The woman is to be feared when you bring something to her late. Say, do you think Jutus could take it down there for me? Thanks!
This side task is still freaking going? Its head fell over in the wind on the day of the murder. They didn't start moving the head out of the way until after 3. It was after 4 by the time the path was unblocked. Capiche? Everyone in this trailer was stuck here until the path was cleared. Stuck in this trailer. Stuck until after 4. Not necessarily stuck in the trailer. You can still roam around the Studio 2 area, just not past it, that's all.
This sure doesn't look good. Guess we should head back to the office and plan our strategy.
Do we have to? It's just more time being spent just to get to story elements that could have taken place sooner. Phoenix, do you have anything you might trade with her?
A trade, I wonder.
Great, just a little something I need to do in order to move the story forward. But who would guess that it'd have to be the card key to Studio 1? Not just that, wasn't this Powers' card key? Does this mean Oldbag would have to give it back to Powers after he gets acquitted? Why don't you let her borrow it, Phoenix? I guess it can't hurt. Here you go, Miss Oldbag. I mean, it's not like we have to go back to Studio 1. Seriously, we don't. For the rest of the case. Phoenix, was that the boy? Yeah, his name's Cody Hackins. I think he ran into the dressing room. You think? You saw him, didn't you? I'll give you this if you help me.
But that's me, kid! By offering me something I already own, you're in effect eschewing the very basis of our consumer society, namely the principle of fair trade!
Man, for a grown-up, you sure are dim.
What do they teach these kids in school these days? Quantum physics?
Actually, I wouldn't put it past those teachers in the Ace Attorney universe, especially considering that Cody already has the idea of fair trade down, despite only being 7 years old.
If you want to trade, find me a really rare kid.
What? After all that trouble to get this kid's trading cards, I have to go on yet another fetch quest? Seriously, the second day investigating is the worst part of the episode because of all the freaking fetch quests I gotta go through just to get the story moving. Have you seen that boy since then? Nope. You missed it though. The security lady was chasing around after the boy so fast I thought she'd collapse. Well, she kinda did. Are all the posters on the wall here of Hammer? Yes, it's really a terrible loss for the studios. But his popularity had been waning recently, right? That's true. But then again, after what happened? After what happened? You mean you don't know about Hammer? Why the heck would I? This accident 5 years ago to which Penny refers was kept out of the public news, was it not? In that case, how does Penny know about it? Wait. That's it. That's the card I need. You don't know how long I've been looking for it. Great, as if we need another hyperactive fangirl. Look, I'll even trade you an ultra rare premium card. Trade me huh? Yes, it's a good deal for your ultra rare. Please! Phoenix, can't you see she's desperate? Yes, I can see that. Besides, I need that ultra rare premium anyway. Also, ultra rare in exchange for ultra rare premium. Why do I feel like there ought to be more to it than that? Unless Penny has a double of that ultra rare premium she's giving away as well? Doesn't doing good things like that make you feel great? It does, but not because I'm doing a good thing. It's because I want the story to go forward already. I gotta talk to that freaking kid!
Hey, if you want this, you can have it, lady.
Really? Are you sure?
Yeah, I took this with the digital camera. I get all the data at home, so I can always make another one.
Well, then I'm happy to accept. Thank you.
What's with people always giving stuff to Mia? What a life!
This is all making Mia come off as spoiled. Phoenix defends Larry and presents the final piece of evidence necessary to save him, but Larry gives his reward to Mia despite her only being an aide in that trial. Though I guess with Cody here, it makes more sense for him to give the album to Mia because of how he feels about Phoenix. I think Phoenix needs some healing hugs.
I heard everything. This boy is a key witness, and he's under police protection starting now.
I had to do research for this because I found it hard to believe a child is about to be called to the witness stand. Turns out it is legal, but a lot of it comes down to a sort of maturity level. Even though this kid displays an insane amount of intelligence for his age, he also seems a bit too immature to be a competent witness in that case.
Will the witness state his name and profession? How rude can you get? You don't know me? I'm the director. I make the Steel Samurai, noob. ROFL!
Wow, if this is how he addresses the court, imagine how he must have been in the meeting that took place on the day of the murder. Phoenix. Yeah? Doesn't something about that seem odd to you? This is where the bare plates in the Studio 2 area come into play. For this part, it's not too bad because all you have to do is say that Manila's statement about skipping out on lunch is contradictory. That's it. You don't even have to present evidence. But don't worry, it gets worse later. When I went to Studio 2, I saw something on the table there. There were 2 plates, the same kind of plates as the one in the employee area. Who ate lunch there?
No, good call. I was embarrassed, so I didn't mention it.
Too embarrassed to mention that you ate steaks?
We took one break during that meeting. I wolfed it down then.
A mental image I will carry with me to my grave. Wait a second. If they took a break in that meeting, that contradicts his testimony. I'll press on that one a bit more.
In any other race attorney game, getting information like this would have meant either advancing to a new testimony or the last statement in Manila's first testimony being changed to reflect the new information we gathered. But now, in this one instance, you have to press the statement that your new info contradicts. Just a bit of extra work in case you thought you weren't getting enough from the side task, the investigation portion that came before trial day 2. Just have Manila instantly forget that he told you about the break just for the sake of extra gameplay.
Yeah, FWIW, we took a break, ROFL. But it was only 15 minutes. 15! That's only 13 in base 12.
Smart Alec. Phoenix, this is critical. Think about it before you give your answer.
Do you claim someone from the trailer went to Studio 1?
This is one of the few instances where you have to say that a certain scenario is impossible. If you say you're going to claim it, Edgeworth will have everything explained for you and you'll get a penalty. But then here's the kicker. If you say it's impossible, Edgeworth will explain it anyway. So really, having to stop me just to have me set myself back on track is kind of pointless if I'm not even going to be presenting the head of Mr. Monkey. Yeah, you don't even get to present this monkey head. It's just there's a waste of space. This is everyone returning to the courtroom after a 10-minute recess. When the recess started, it was 11:04, and now it's 11:15, meaning 11 minutes have passed. That's cheating.
The prosecution has a concern. As our witness is a grade schooler of tender years, and this is a murder case, we worry that the defense might cause unnecessary trauma with his cruel questioning.
I'd personally be more worried about getting the kid to cooperate.
Incidentally, photographic equipment is strictly forbidden in this courtroom.
My apologies, Your Honor. He said he wouldn't testify if he couldn't bring it. I'd like special permission if that's possible.
Wait, so you're saying you had to bargain terms with a kid? And you lost?
We are talking about the same Edgeworth that never lost a case in his entire career up until Turnabout Sisters, right?
Very well, the defense may begin its cross-examination. But be gentle. Remember you're talking to a child.
This kid is tougher than most adults we see in here, honestly.
Yeah, as I'm sure the judge has seen himself, the kid sure can put up a fight.
You know as well as I do that he's being fake. Tell me, what kind of murderer uses a samurai slap?
Maybe if you watched the Steel Samurai, you'd have an answer. Or wait, maybe Cody just made up the samurai slap while desperate to keep his secret. And don't say anything like him just forgetting a samurai slap doesn't exist. This kid established to be a huge Steel Samurai fanboy.
Apparently, we have all made a serious error.
An error? What's this all about?
One of the options is basically saying a murder never took place. And then another option is stating what we already know.
Both the Hammer and Steel Samurai options lead us to the same matter of discussion, but I just think it's funny that we even have the Hammer option in the first place.
But remember what Miss Oldbag said in her testimony?
On the day of the murder, I arrived at the guard station at 1 o'clock p.m. Did I see poor old Hammer? Nope. He'd already gone to the studio before I got back to the guard station.
It's funny how this flashback even takes place because the only way Oldbag would ever have said this is if you press the third statement in her first testimony, which you're not required to do.
Might I draw your attention to the number on that gate?
The number? Yes, well, it's hard to see, but it looks like a 2.
It's not that hard to see, Judge. Come on.
The body was found here in Studio 1. However, what do we see in this photo taken at the time of the murder? It does not say 1 on the gate of the photo. Your Honor, here is the true scene of the crime.
Show the judge where the murder took place.
Or maybe if the judge was smart, he'd figure it out himself. After the recess, we were in the courtroom for 3 hours and 32 minutes? Bullcrap.
Under the initial trial system, tomorrow is the last day we have.
Initial trial? What's that?
That's a new court system they introduced 2 or 3 years ago. They had so many cases in the system, they decided to speed the whole process up.
So, under that system, trials have to end in 3 days?
Yeah, pretty much. Funny story, and I mentioned this already, this is the only game in the main series to have any trials go on for up to 3 days. Every game after that has 2 trial days maximum. So what, did they make a new system for that too?
Ever since she came on board, we've had nothing but hits. Global Studios was on its knees, but she picked it up and made it shine.
Up until the studios are not doing so well now. What happened? Do we even get an answer for that?
Sal? He's soft. A pushover. Does whatever Vasquez tells him to. She treats him like dirt, but I think he likes it.
Huh? Why would anyone like being treated like dirt? That doesn't make any sense, does it, Nick? For normal people, no, it wouldn't make sense. But considering what Manella's like, yeah, masochist.
Well, the testing solution on the plate changed color, alright.
So the food on this plate had been laced with sleeping pills. Okay, so Gumshoe was given testing solution that changes color when it comes into contact with sleeping pills, but to compare the plate now to the first time you examine it, there's literally no difference whatsoever. It's like Gumshoe added nothing to the plate.
This week is the last episode of The Steel Samurai.
What? No! No. Why aren't they going to make kid shows anymore? The studio bigwigs don't want the Steel Samurai around anymore. They want to forget all this ever happened. They want it quiet, you understand? How is stopping production of kid shows supposed to keep everything quiet? I wanted to ask you about 5 years ago.
Ah! Who told? Who did you hear that from?
Huh?
Nichols!
Nichols?
Nichols, Nick. Penny Nichols, that assistant we talked to.
You know, the girl whose name has never been brought up in character dialogue until now?
Here, take this.
Huh? A photograph? This photo's in black and white too! Hang on, are all photos in the Ace Sturdy universe just in black and white? Have we seriously not moved on to color yet? Except we have moved on to color, yet people still take black and white photos? For what reason? Hey Nick, it's Miss Vasquez. Hello?
H-E-L-L-O! H-E-L-L-O!
Ah yes, the best way to get someone's attention when they don't respond. Just loudly spell out the word hello. Dang it, Phoenix, haven't you learned anything from the Red-White incident? You're inciting trouble by doing this. At least with Red-White, what you did actually convinced him to take the stand, but here, you had pretty much no reason to do this. I'm pretty sure Gumshoe would have shown up and had Vasquez come to court as a witness anyway.
You mean Mr. Hammer did it on purpose?
That is what I mean.
Well, where's your proof? Can you prove it?
Just think. Would he have let me run his life for 5 years over a mere accident?
Yeah, because he'd feel such immense guilt over what happened, whether it was an accident or not.
Tell me why. Why do you want this photograph so badly? This is Mr. Hammer's dirt, no? Why should Dee Vasquez care about it at all?
If it's dirt she had on the victim, if it's something she's been keeping secret, even after he died, with the information you gathered, I'm sure you'd understand why.
Boys, erase away.
No!
No.
Hold it right there!
Gumshoe Ex Machina.
I entered the trailer, a little before noon. The meeting began at 12 sharp. It ended at 4. There was to be a rehearsal afterwards, so we went to Studio 1. I was fatigued, so I had Sal take me. At 2:30, we took a 15-minute break in the meeting. Whoa, hold up there. Vasquez is talking about how they had a 4-hour meeting in the Studio 2 trailer, in the middle of which was a 15-minute break, and after the meeting, they made their way to Studio 1.
Shouldn't she be talking about the break after speaking of the time frame of the meeting and before she started talking about going to Studio 1? Also, when I go to cross-examine Vasquez, the testimony stops when she talks about her and Sal eating T-bone steaks during the break, but when she was testifying, she had more to say, like discovering Jack Hammer's body in Studio 1. What reason did they have to leave that out of the cross-examination? Oh yeah, and here's the part that's bullcrap about the plates in the employee area and the Studio 2 area. Unless you were actively paying attention and remembering that the plates in the Studio 2 area were completely bare, how would you know to present the steak plate at that last statement? You think, oh, during the testimony you see Studio 2, all you have to do is look at the plates there. Well, there's a problem. If you had the text box background option set to have no transparency, you wouldn't be able to see the plates on the table. This isn't exactly a huge problem, but it's still bullcrap. The samurai spear was not the murder weapon. What? What is the meaning of this? The spear was found lying next to the victim's body. I have proof, Your Honor. I can prove that the samurai spear was not used as the murder weapon. You know, the proof that I could have presented earlier because of something we learned on the first day of the case? Seriously, I couldn't bring this up earlier? I lose, you win. It was fun. Then we proceed to take like over half a minute on nothing before we move on to the next point of discussion for no good reason. It wouldn't be such a big deal, except we have this moment of silence before we fade to black, then back to the witness stand, not once, but twice. Why do we need it twice? I would like to end the cross-examination of the witness, Ms. Vasquez. Yes, Mr. Edgeworth. I was hoping to come up with a question while I was objecting, Your Honor. I didn't. This is hilarious, but it only really makes more sense if, once given the prompt, you say you have no further questions, as opposed to asking Vasquez to testify again. Does this make any sense to you, Your Honor? I don't see that we have anything to gain by repeating the last several minutes. Okay, as if that wasn't confusing enough, this dialogue would make a lot more sense if you chose to ask Vasquez to testify again. Simply put, whichever option you choose when given the prompt, assuming you don't continue to accuse Vasquez without the decisive evidence you need, which just starts up the prompt again, there's one thing about this scene while Edgeworth is objecting that suffers a bit. I thought you came to Studio 1 for a rehearsal. Why didn't you bring your script and notes? Well, I was under the impression that we wouldn't be able to rehearse anything. Why? There was a murder after all. Who could think of rehearsing after that?
Oh yeah, I guess.
Why are you agreeing with her? Just so Edgeworth can have something to object to in order to continue his new character development when he asked Vasquez for more testimony? Also, we're talking about someone who is by no means stupid here. Why on earth did she think she could get away with saying the reason they wouldn't be able to rehearse was because there was a murder? One of the lead actors is the victim, and the production staff were all in Studio 2 before they found the body. Yes, I know I'm pointing all this out before Edgeworth does, but my point is, I have a hard time believing Vasquez would lie this poorly. I think you misunderstood me. I had a perfectly good reason to believe there would be no rehearsal. Very well. The witness will change her testimony to reflect this reason. I knew that Hammer was injured and couldn't do any action scenes, so I left them behind. No, we didn't misunderstand you at all. You first said the reason you didn't think there would be a rehearsal is because Hammer was dead. Now you just changed that reason to being that Hammer was injured, which isn't true either, but with this statement, that's besides the point because you didn't know about the accident in the employee area where Powers was the one that hurt his ankle. The point is, why would Hammer's supposed injury not be what she says the first time? Is it so that Edgeworth can have something to point out? What about the fact that Vasquez didn't bring the script and production notes with her when they went to Studio 1? He had the perfect opportunity when Phoenix pressed her on that statement. Now, why did you think it was Mr. Hammer who was injured? I already said it was Sal who told me. No, you freaking didn't. In fact, actually, the only way this line would make sense is if you pressed that statement before presenting the photo of Powers, which you didn't have to do. That's the thing about the first 3 games, is that depending on how you play, whether it be more straightforward or perusing through every piece of dialogue possible, you're likely to run into a plot hole or two because of something you missed, despite it not being necessary to advance the story. Also, I already caught you out that Mr. Powers was the one who was injured. Was Sal being in the employee area? He knew about the injury. Why would you say that he told you Hammer was injured even though that's clearly not the case? I have a question for you.
Why are the real killers always so persistent?
My question exactly. Yes, you would need a motive. Why would she have killed the victim? If there is a reason, it is unclear to this court. That didn't stop you guys from arresting Powers, did it? Wow, that's like the most casual breakdown I've ever seen.
Mr. Hammer was a big star once, but he was reduced to acting in a kid's show and as the villain to boot. The kids loved the Steel Samurai, and so he hated you. I think I understand. He could have just told me. I would have changed places with him any time. Haven't you been listening to what Phoenix was saying about Vasquez blackmailing Hammer? Even if he wanted to play the Steel Samurai, he couldn't. Thanks to you, I'll be able to don the Steel Samurai outfit once more. Yeah, but who will be the evil magistrate now? You still gotta get that figured out. Pleased to meet you. I'm Powers. Edgeworth. I'm a big fan of your work, Mr. Powers.
Liar.
No, Phoenix. He's right. He's secretly a fan, although not so much of a secret now, is it? Thanks to you, I am saddled with unnecessary feelings. Unnecessary feelings? Yes. Unease and uncertainty. This, my friends, is the beginning of the Wright worshipping, one of the most famous fanships in the Ace Attorney community. Want me to blow your mind holes? Too bad. I don't buy it. Mr. Wright, was that guy your friend?
What? Friends? As if. They're rivals. Rivals. Right, Nick?
For now we are, I guess.
Huh? Why do I get the feeling I'm missing something? Come on, Nick, tell me. What's the deal with you and Edgeworth?
You know, I never thought about this until now, but why does Phoenix not talk about how Edgeworth was once his friend until 2 months after this trial's conclusion? He doesn't seem to have a reason not to, right?
This is it. The new show starts today. You're gonna watch it with me, right?
Wait, the Pink Princess has already been put on the air? Salmonella only came up with the idea 2 days before the case was settled. There's no way between Turnabout Samurai and Turnabout Goodbyes that the Pink Princess would already have its first episode put on the air. You gotta do the casting, the shooting, the editing.
Isn't it great that WP gets to play the lead again?
Why exactly is Powers playing the Pink Princess? Could they seriously not find a female to play the role?
Justice.
You can't imagine how much I've suffered. You've suffered? But now, the perfect opportunity has presented itself. At last, I shall have my revenge. What? Merry Christmas. Okay, we learn a few truths about what just happened in this scene later on. I'm betting Edgeworth was ultra confused by what just took place right on that boat. He must have had so many questions on his mind, such as, why did the lawyer that defended my father's murderer pull out a gun and waste 2 bullets in the lake? Why did he leap off the boat after taking those 2 shots? How was he the one that was suffering? What did he mean by revenge if he got the verdict he wanted? Also, this incident took place after midnight on Christmas Day. Does that mean we could think of Turnabout Goodbyes as the diehard of Ace Attorney?
Next in the news, a large unidentified animal was sighted at Gourd Lake. The town is buzzing with excitement. Locals are calling it Gordy and a tip of the hat to Nessie, the Loch Ness Monster. Though its namesake Nessie proved to be a hoax, locals are confident their Gordy is the real deal.
Proved to be a hoax? Look, I don't believe the Loch Ness Monster exists, but there have been many reported sightings, most of which are totally false even after the first game came out. There's still people to this day, at least 1,000, that believe Nessie exists. In fact, the latest reported sighting, as of the time I'm recording this, was on April 4, 2024. It seems like to this day the debates are still on, but I'm definitely not a believer. The water pressure is kind of low in that shower. You want more pressure, huh? Why don't you go down to the fire department and have them spray you with the hose? Good idea, Nick.
Apparently, Faye Blood is no aid in detecting sarcasm.
Apparently not. You'd think if she could read your mind, she'd know if you were being sarcastic. So, you've come to laugh at the fallen attorney? Then laugh! Laugh! Hey, that sounds like something April May said 3 months ago. You're a novice. You've only been in 3 trials. Technically 4, since with the Mia Fey case, Maya was the first suspect, and then Phoenix had to represent himself. Also, only those cases? It's been 2 months since the last case. How are the bills for the law firm being paid? Is one of them just working some extra job for pay and we don't know about it? The lake is a long way away from your offices and the courthouse. Why were you down there? I see no need to tell you. Mr. Edgeworth, you didn't really... Gordy. Huh? I went to see Gordy. I think Edgeworth could come up with better lies than this. If Phoenix knows his childhood friend, that was very easy to see through. This is one of the very few instances in the Ace Attorney series where you are required to present your attorney's badge in order to advance. Most of the time, however, it's just taking up space in the court record if anything else.
Ah! Eek! Hey, you're that hairy guy, Hairy Butts!
Wright! Phoenix Wright!
Will he ever learn my name?
As a matter of fact, yes he will, because this is the last time this stupid joke is ever done. Oh, it's Christmas today. I'd forgotten. What are you getting me for Christmas, Nick? Nothing, since to my knowledge, you two haven't been working for 2 whole months.
You should have heard him talking about you after that trial. He kept saying right, over and over.
Man, they're really encouraging the right worship, aren't they? I think there's something to be said for talking to people when they're busy. Yeah, they don't have time to think about not giving you information. Such information includes, get the heck out of my face, I'm busy. Wowzers, this is Gourd Lake? Yup, I'm not sure it warrants a wowzers though. Way to kill the mood by being one of those you've seen one lake, you've seen them all type of people, Phoenix. Ah, someone left some poppers here. You know, you pull the string, and it goes pop. Yeah, I know the ones. You see them a lot around New Year's. Hey Nick, they might be a clue. Maybe if you want to suggest the gunshot the witness heard was really the sound of a party popper in a murder trial where someone was killed by gunshot. Except, oh wait, they haven't been used.
Poppers.
Okay, so you're given the option to either take the poppers or not. I feel like Maya would have just taken the poppers without the need for Phoenix's approval, but you have to say yes in order to progress the story. Look, someone's camping. They've got guts camping at the scene of a murder. I think they had guts anyway because of the no camping sign. Wow, cool. Let's try it out. Hi, I'm Nick. Maybe I'm not saying it loud enough. Hey, I'm Nick! Huh. Nick! But seriously, why is that your test? To mock Phoenix? And why hasn't Phoenix been objecting to this? Maybe it isn't set to respond to voices. Well, what then? These things? The party poppers? I don't think that's how noise-activated cameras work. It was just a single sound from a party popper.
Yeah! Hey you, get your hands off of that!
You mean to tell me Lana only came out after hearing the camera going off, not while Maya was screaming at it? In fact, why did the game even require us to pick up the party poppers anyway? Wouldn't it be more convenient if all that happened was Maya was screaming at the camera like she did here, and Lana came out worried that she'd waste all the film?
Yeah, I know how y'all Yanks think. I say, those southern folks talk with that exaggerated drawl. Why, they must be dumb. Well, let me tell you, just because I might be dumb don't mean we all are.
So, are you admitting to being dumb, or are you just saying not all southerners are dumb without anything extra?
Oh boy, I guess we should pay her for the film.
Watch it!
Watch what? What were you even responding to?
Why didn't y'all say that in the first place? Go ahead, ask me anything you like.
Finally, some cooperation.
You too. Y'all come out of hiding now. I won't bite. Hard.
Come to think of it, where did Maya get to?
That's a legit question. Where exactly was Maya hiding? The game doesn't even have the courtesy to answer that. That's quite a camera you have there.
Y'all better know it. It's German made. A genuine Solingen.
Isn't that where they make knives?
Oh please, as if that's the only place.
I'll go check that film. Y'all come back now, you hear?
She went inside her SUV. I guess we should come back later. I can't imagine it taking that long to get a photo like what we were talking about. Sounds pretty easy. It was taken late in the night, 2 men were in a boat, and a gunshot triggered the mic attached to the camera. I don't see why they couldn't have just waited for Lana right at the campsite.
See, Mr. Edgeworth always gets his defendants declared guilty every time. Yeah, his methods might be a little extreme at times, but there's a reason. He trusts our investigation, see? He trusts us to get the right man.
But that reason is kind of bosh if we're to believe that statement Edgeworth made in Turnabout Sisters about how he'd do anything for a guilty verdict. That face.
Someone you know?
I don't know. I just have this feeling that I met him somewhere a long time ago. Wait, the dialogue for the autopsy report talk option just ends right there? And I have to go back to the office so that Maya can remember in order to open up a new location? What's up with that? But then I tried going to Grossberg's office to learn more about this murder victim, but he's not here. Why even open up a new navigation option if I can't go there to advance the story yet? Instead, I gotta go all the way back to the campsite just to get the photos from Lana.
Hi, y'all. Wait, we just came back to see the photos Lotta took with the automatic camera. She's not going to ask us where we've been or what took us so long to come back? Assuming she found the photos she was looking for quick, or did it really take that long to find the photos? Hey, so I'm off to talk to the cops. Y'all can have this photo. Later. Whoa, wait, Lotta! Why? Can't you see I'm busy? Tell us what you saw too, please. Nice try, honey, but I wasn't born yesterday. I'm a witness, and that means I'm on the side of justice, and that means the cops. Except you gave us one of the photos your camera took that night. Why even do that? Okay, the navigation in this case is pretty stupid. At the beginning, you go to the detention center to talk to Edgeworth, then the Gourd Lake entrance to talk to Gumshoe, then the public beach for the party poppers, then the campsite to set off the party poppers and talk to Lotta, then the criminal affairs to retrieve the autopsy report, then go back to the office so Maya can remember the details about the victim. And you think to go to Grossberg's to learn more, but nope, you can't do that yet. You gotta go back to the campsite to get the photo from Lotta, then to the public beach to talk to Larry, and only after that you get to visit Grossberg. This isn't the worst case of constant backtracking in the Ace Attorney series, considering I just got done with Turnabout Samurai. Even then, there's worse backtracking later in the series. But this seems like a bit much. Just talk to Edgeworth at detention, then Gumshoe at the entrance, then Lotta at the campsite, Larry at the public beach, then back to the campsite to get the photo from Lotta, then criminal affairs for the autopsy report, then Grossberg's office. It's not rocket science or anything. Oh, Beyonce's a fine, fine woman, Nick. It was her idea that I wear this costume. She was all, you go, girlfriend, you know? You go, girlfriend? Larry, are you sure she's not? Whoa, cute. Nick, who's she? She's not sure. I know that Larry becomes an illustrator in the future. Don't you freaking dare draw fan art of Phoenix and Maya like those weirdos on the internet. But Mr. Edgeworth is a prosecuting attorney. What? Edgy's got a proboscis on his knee? Stupid joke aside, there's no way someone like Larry should know the word proboscis. In fact, even if he did, I'm not sure it means what he thinks it means. Well, why are they samurai dogs? I mean, they kind of look gourd-shaped. Oh, well, originally they were gourd dogs. You know, like guard dogs. Ouch. The samurai thing was Beyonce's idea. Oh, she's my woman, you know. Ouch is right, actually. Honestly, Beyonce, meddling much? Man, the kids can't get enough of those samurai dogs. Something about that just seems wrong. How? I set the camera to automatic, and when we got into the frame, I heard a loud bang, like an explosion, followed by the sound of something slipping into the water. And the automatic camera just happened to snap before either of you turned around to see what the noise was? Her little sister, yes. You've grown. You come to look a lot like your sister, you know. Every once in a while, quite literally. That's Hammond. Robert Hammond. Mr. Hammond? And you say this is the man Miles Edgeworth shot? No. I didn't say anything of the sort. Apparently going straight to present the autopsy report to Grossberg without talking to him first is the only thing that makes Grossberg's line not make sense. He was a defense attorney in that case. That case? Yes, the DL6 incident. DL6? Why does that sound so familiar? Perhaps you remember? I'm sure someone mentioned it during the trial for Mia's murder. No, it was never brought up during the trial. Grossberg told you about it before your trial, and now you're gonna hear more. Show him this. I'm sure he'll talk to you. Wait, this is a photograph of my mother. Wow, Grossberg, kind of a jerk move on your part, all just to convince Edward to take my case. Well, thanks, I guess? I thought that terrible incident was about to end. Now, this. About to end? The DL6 incident happened 15 years ago. 15 years ago, on December 28th. December 28th? The statute of limitations on the case runs out in 3 days. No? If we're going by the American localization, there's no statute of limitations on a murder case. Who would have thought there'd be a photo? Edgeworth, did you shoot him? What do you think, Wright? I don't think you're the kind to point a gun at anyone, no. So you didn't shoot him? No, I didn't. It wasn't me. I'm sure it would have saved Phoenix a bit of hassle for Edgeworth to just say that he didn't bring a gun with him when he went to Gourd Lake. I know it was a confusing time for Edgeworth, but surely nothing should have prevented him from saying the other guy in the boat was the one who pulled out the gun. Sure, it would have been confusing, but at least he'd be a bit closer to the truth. In fact, isn't that what Ace Attorney is about? Discovering the truth? This is my chance to finally pay you back. Pay him back? Pay me back? For what? I don't remember ever doing anything for you. What about the Steel Samurai trial? That's one thing.
I mean, he'll really do anything. Manfred von Karma is a man to be feared.
That's quite a claim coming from someone who forges evidence.
What does that even mean? Sure, the updated autopsy report was pretty underhanded, but in both cases where Phoenix faced off with Edgeworth, there wasn't a single piece of forged evidence that's been presented. Yes, there's also the rumors about Edgeworth, but is Phoenix really gonna assume those are all true? Just picture a prosecutor as vicious as me, multiplied by a factor of 10.
So was he your teacher then, Mr. Edgeworth?
Something like that.
And now he's trying to get you found guilty? What a creep! Oh wait, maybe he's planning on losing on purpose to help you out.
Not a chance. He hasn't lost in 40 years. 40 years! He's as ruthless as me times 20. Didn't you previously say he was 10 times as vicious as you? Now the number just went up? Actually, 20 times as ruthless makes more sense.
Mr. Von Karma, is the prosecution ready? Fool. You seriously think that I would stand here were I not completely prepared? Right, my apologies.
He's even got the judge scared.
The prosecutor's putting intimidation on the judge. I'm pretty sure that's illegal.
Please take a look at this map.
Now that I'm looking at this guide map, I realize that the navigation of the investigation portion actually makes even less sense than I thought. For the most part, it's fine. You go from the entrance to the public beach, and from there you either go to the boat rental shop or the campsite. But for some reason, if you're at the campsite, you can't go to the boat rental shop, and if you're at the boat rental shop, you can't go to the campsite. It looks like there's a connecting path between the boat rental shop and the campsite. It really shouldn't be an issue.
Actually, I'm the one that's supposed to be handling these proceedings. Wrong. There is only one thing you need to do here. You will slam down your gavel and say the word guilty. That is your role. Yes, of course, you're quite right.
No, he's not.
And I think the judge knows that Von Karma isn't right also. Otherwise, the judge would have ended the trial just as Von Karma said. Fired 3 times? I know what this means, but at this point in the game, nobody did. Didn't Gumshoe say 2 gunshots were heard by the woman at the campsite? Hey Nick, what does he mean ballistic markings?
Shocking to imagine someone here does not know something as basic as ballistic markings.
Hey, she's a spirit medium, give her a break. It's not like an attorney asked this question.
I'd say it's almost decisive, yes. Honestly, I could declare a verdict at this point. However, you wish to hear the witness speak, no doubt.
With how ruthless Von Karma is, I'm surprised he wasn't like, yeah, just get this trial done and over with.
I am somewhat fatigued, so I will take a brief break.
Somewhat fatigued? How? We haven't been in the courtroom that long. What do we even need the recess for? We've been in there for 69 minutes. Nah, that's ridiculous.
But you must believe me, I didn't shoot him.
Then who did?
I don't know.
You don't know? Weren't you right there?
I heard a gunshot from very close by.
Actually 2 gunshots very close by.
I can't say why, but I thought at the time that he had shot himself.
You were right in front of him when the gunshots went off. There's no reason for you to have thought it was a suicide if he was standing right in front of you holding the gun pointed at the lake. I know it was dark and foggy that night, but still. If I can't call my sister, I might as well not be here, right?
Seriously, I have the option to make Phoenix be a jerk to Maya about it? Man, this game.
I heard this bang come up from the lake. When I looked out the window, I saw 2 gents in a boat. Then there was another bang. Only 2 gunshots were recorded in the testimony, yet during the cross-examination, the game doesn't allow me to present the pistol so I can bring up the point that the weapon was fired 3 times. It's like the game has a very specific story structure that it wants me to follow in the right order, without any branching paths, even being inconvenient about certain logical flaws that I'm not allowed to point out.
This photo is worth 1,000 words, and they all read guilty. You lose. Or do you claim to have found a contradiction in her testimony?
Either the one I already talked about that the game wouldn't accept without giving me a penalty? Unfortunately, I can only find it by pressing all the witnesses' statements and listen to you patronize me 6, I counted, 6 times!
What does the witness's motive in camping by the lake have to do with this case? The answer is nothing. I object to this line of questioning. Objection sustained.
Wait now, I'm the one who says that. Well then say it already!
Objection sustained.
Thanks for nothing, Your Honor.
Thanks for nothing indeed. All the narcissistic piece of crap did was sustain his own objection, then shout for the judge to agree with him. This judge is a doormat.
Could you clearly see the 2 men? Just look at the picture. Clear enough for you?
No! That's not a question you should have had to ask! All we see are silhouettes!
Contradictions, Mr. Wright, not meaningless babble.
Von Karma, I think I hate you.
You and me both, bro.
I'm sorry, but you were warned. Guard, escort Mr. Wright out of the courtroom. He is in contempt of court and must leave.
I know you said any further outbursts will put me in contempt, but no matter what Von Karma said, that should mean escorting Phoenix out of the courtroom. After all, as Maya would clarify, she was the one responsible for the outbursts. Getting her out should be your action. Don't punish me for something I clearly didn't do, you moron! I'm sorry, it just feels so personal for me to see the player character about to be punished for something he didn't do, despite there being clear and obvious evidence he didn't do it. I was the one who made the outburst, Your Honor. Nick is innocent.
Ha, what's the difference?
Don't play dumb, Von Karma. You know darn well what the difference is. It wasn't a masculine voice you heard, it was a feminine one.
You're in contempt of court. It's too late for wild claims. Judge, sustain my objection. I'm sorry, Mr. Von Karma, but I cannot.
Oh, look who finally has some nerve.
Look at this photograph.
Oh gosh, is that a Nickelback reference? The camera was set up to take pictures of a meteor shower. It's only now as I'm presenting the evidence that I realize why was this lie so hard to see through when Phoenix first met Lada. As Phoenix actually points out when presenting the camera to this statement, the camera is pointed straight at the lake, not up at the sky. We saw the camera the day before the trial.
You seem sure of yourself. You must have something in mind. That would be a first.
No, it wouldn't. So sorry, y'all. I wasn't fibbing, really. I thought, I could be a witness to a murder and all. So? That doesn't mean you weren't fibbing earlier. First you said you clearly saw Edgeworth's face, then you said you were camping by the lake to photograph shooting stars, and then you said you were watching the boat the whole time after hearing the gunshots, despite us having just revealed that you were looking for Gordy. None of those things turned out to be true.
The witness will show the enlargement to the court.
Here it is. Hold up, I can understand the human figures not being made clear in the first image, but what about the flash that's lighting up the barrel of the gun? Why couldn't that be seen?
We now know that it was not Mr. Edgeworth who fired the pistol that night.
And we would have continued to think it was if Von Karma got his way and we didn't see the enlargement. I wonder if Von Karma ever got penalized for deliberately concealing evidence like this. Oh wait,
who but the defendant could have shot the victim?
The only possible option here would of course be the victim himself, since Larry was nowhere near the lake when it happened and Lada was out camping, but even the suicide option is strange. The photograph we see has the shooter firing in the direction of the other man. If the death was a suicide, shouldn't the second photo the camera took that night have been of the shooter pointing the gun at his own temple, unless Von Karma was concealing that photo too?
An examination of the victim's wound reveals the distance at which he was shot.
Distance?
The victim was clearly shot from further than a meter away.
How does he know this? You want to know how you can tell? Finish this game first, then move on to Justice for All. So we were in there for 1 hour 56 minutes, eh? Sure felt like an eternity talking about Gordy and all. I requisitioned a transcript of Lada's entire testimony. I thought it might give me some ammunition for the trial tomorrow. Of course, she didn't see the shooter, so the only part of her testimony that stood was the bang she heard. 2 gunshots just after midnight on Christmas Day. Yes, that's sure to be useful, especially when another witness also testifies to having heard 2 gunshots after midnight, but my idiot friend says he only heard 1 gunshot before midnight, which he would actually be right about. So I start the next chapter of the episode at the detention center where Maya is being held for contempt of court. I talk to her, and here's a bit more of this backtracking BS that the game throws at me. In order for her to be able to get out, I'd have to first go to the campsite to talk to Gumshoe, who says that Edgeworth is paying the bail for Maya, and then back to the detention center so that Maya can be by my side again. Why not just have it so the bail is immediately paid by Edgeworth after I'm done with the talk options for Maya? Wouldn't that be more convenient? What's the point of forcing me to go to a whole different location just to have the story advance? Any idea what strategy Von Karma is planning for tomorrow?
It sounds like he's bringing in another witness.
Another witness? Oh, right, he said something about that in the trial today.
There were 2 witnesses.
First off, Von Karma only says this if you press the first statement of Gumshoe's testimony during the trial, which you don't have to do. Second, why flashback to the trial? You already knew there was a separate witness from Lada. You heard about him when you first stopped by the entrance to Gourd Lake before you even met Lada. Sure, you weren't really told any details, but you still knew about a witness before you met Lada. Those interrogators were really mean. They were like, okay, what did you do this time? Like I was some kind of criminal. Can you believe it? Considering you were once accused of murder, it doesn't sound that unbelievable. Also, America.
What about Gordy?
Right. Well, the way I figure, the trial's only stoking the flames of Gordy fever. I'll get my exclusive photos and rocket to stardom.
Yeah, assuming no one steals your scoop first.
See, I reckon we might be able to do ourselves a little exchange.
Exchange? I thought this was to make it up to us.
Right. I propose a little exchange to make it up to you.
Lana's definitely playing up the Southerners being dumb stereotype here.
You made the mess and are trying to make it up to us. We shouldn't have to owe you anything.
Okay, and how exactly do we search for a make-believe monster? Maybe we could find a monster myth specialist.
And for whatever reason, Gumshoe is the first thing that comes to mind.
See, Mr. Edgeworth's father died in the DL6 incident, and the guy who got the lone suspect declared innocent was the victim in this case, Robert Hammond. They're saying that's why Edgeworth shot him.
Okay, but the DL6 incident was 15 years ago. If Edgeworth really wanted revenge on Hammond for helping the supposed killer go free, he wouldn't have waited this long, at least until he was old enough to handle a gun properly. Or heck, it didn't exactly have to be that long either. There's more ways to kill someone than just with a gunshot. Also, bringing back the fact that DL6 was 15 years ago, Edgeworth shouldn't have had that much pent-up emotion about the selfish defense starting at such a young age. Remember, Edgeworth was 9 at the time, and right now he's 24. I don't think 15 years would have been early enough for the motive to make sense.
You got time to go wild monster hunting? How about doing a little questing for me, then?
Oh, Detective Gumshoe is scaring me, Nick.
I told Detective Gumshoe about the deal with Lotta.
Nick, try telling him sooner next time. You were the one that brought up Gordy to him. Why should I be responsible?
Introducing secret weapon number 1, Missile.
Missile?
He's a canine police dog, still in training. Missile, here boy. Here he is.
Hey, he's cute. Look, Nick, cute dog.
A cute dog. And this will help us... how?
Missile is probably the least useful of the secret weapons Gumshoe introduces for finding Gordy. Yet out of all secret weapons, why is the dog the only thing Phoenix doesn't question in terms of usefulness out loud?
Oh well, I suppose it can't hurt to borrow one of them.
Missile and fishing pole only lead to filler, so let's just get this over with and borrow the metal detector.
Whatever it is, it must be in those bushes.
Go check it out, Maya. Why do I have to check it out? Just one look at Phoenix's suit and Maya shouldn't have to ask. I thought it was Gordy. Maya, first of all, why would Gordy be in the bushes? And second of all, why would a metal detector react to a sea monster? As much as I love Maya and her perkiness, even I must admit there's moments like this where she comes off more lightheaded than anything else. Larry, I wanted to ask you about this tank. Have you seen this before?
Huh? Me? No, never. Who the heck would go diving in the middle of the winter?
There's something about the way his eye twitched when I showed him the tank. I think I'd better pursue this line of questioning a little further.
Except you don't. No extra talk option or anything. I just simply chose to ask if he's seen it before as opposed to if it belongs to him. But he basically gives the same answer either way, so why would I not pursue the line of questioning any further regardless of which question I asked? Instead, I have to specifically ask, is it yours? Just because he talked about diving when I asked if he's seen it before, that's no excuse to not bring up the flags on the tank.
Well, all that happened on the 20th or so.
The 20th? A week ago.
No, today is the 26th. That would make it 6 days ago. I think I have to sneeze. Whoa, no, you don't. No sneezing. Achoo! It's only now that I see the camera go off a second time I realize, why is it that the camera goes through the entire roll of film from the party popper and from Maya's sneeze? But when the gunshots were heard out in the leg, it was only one photo for each discharge.
I told y'all, no sneezing! See, I set the camera to respond to things a little softer than a bang.
Why would you do that? This is your fault!
Of course I have proof.
No fair, Nick. It was when I went to the bathroom, wasn't it? That's when you made contact with Gordy? Between Lotta striking the deal and right now, when and where would Maya have gone to the bathroom? There's a stand near here. A hot dog stand. There's a giant inflatable samurai doll there. About a week ago, an idiot who happens to be a friend of mine tried to fill it. I just love how nonchalant Phoenix is about calling his own friend an idiot. Hold on. Something else? Yeah, night of the murder. My camera clicked twice, you know. Of course it did! It was in response to the 2 gunshots you heard after midnight. Oh wait, you're talking about a different photo taken way earlier? Yeah, but there's nothing in it at all. Just the lake. I figured it wouldn't be much use as evidence, so I kept it to myself. Well, it might not be helpful at all, but... Here, take it.
Totally won't be helpful when some idiot who happens to be my friend says he heard a gunshot before midnight. Hey Nick, this is the boat shop that Lada was talking about. No crap, Maya. We passed by the shop so many times. It's the only one near Gourd Lake.
Meg!
Yes?
Finally made up your mind, have you?
My mind?
You'll run the pasta shop when I'm gone?
Yeah, I understand that the caretaker's only pretending to have brain damage so he wouldn't be identified, but pretending to think the boat rental shop is also a pasta shop just seems like it's pushing it to me.
Keith!
Yes?
I leave the wet noodle in your capable hands, Sonny.
Ew! I don't want anyone's wet noodle in my hands!
I get it.
Huh?
Yup, I got you figured out now.
You're not Keith! Man with amnesia figures out what a 2-year-old should have no problem guessing, then proceeds to forget it all over again.
Alright, I'll help. But on one condition.
What's that?
When this case is over and done, you'll run the wet noodle.
See what I mean? Oh wait, I had one more question.
Huh?
Polly, have we forgotten something?
What? Don't forget DL6! What?
Out of all possible questions to ask Polly, why does Maya think to ask if we forgot anything? I mean, it gave us some useful info, but for that to be the leading question is just crazy.
Hey, pal. Long time no see.
It's only been like an hour, dude.
If you could convince me somehow that the DL6 incident is related to this case, well, I guess I'd consider opening the file up.
The victim is the defense attorney in DL6 where the defendant's father was killed. I'm pretty sure that's strongly related. Also, didn't you tell us last time we were here that the police were linking a motive for this current case based on those facts? Wow, it's amazingly dusty. 10 years of files and 10 years of dust, I guess. Is this records room seriously not visited often? Something about that just doesn't sound right.
15 years ago, both me and Edgeworth were 9 years old. We were almost through with 4th grade when he suddenly transferred.
Almost through with 4th grade? The incident took place in December. I take that to mean halfway through 4th grade. Summary. Found it! Here you go.
December 28th, 2001.
2001? That was the year the original game was released in Japan. To the exact date, it was October 12th, 2001. Since the statute of limitations on DL6 is set to expire only 2 days from this point, that would mean that the first game takes place in 2016. Ace Attorney takes place in the future! Also, wait, 2016 and people are still using flip phones? What's next? Are they still using VHS tapes?
The murder weapon, a pistol, was found in the elevator. The pistol had been fired 2 times. Where have I heard that before?
Oh, it sounds just like this current case. What's going on here?
Just like in the current case, the sense that one bullet has been unaccounted for? Sure.
The suspect, Mr. Yogi, was oxygen deprived, so much so that he had brain damage. He lost all memory of being in the elevator. After he was declared innocent, he disappeared.
Where could Yogi have gone to, I wonder?
He may be closer than we think.
Yeah, perhaps on hiatus from renting boats near Gourd Lake?
I guess I know generally what happened in DL6 now. I still don't know what sort of impact the whole thing had on Edgeworth.
What do you mean you don't know what sort of impact it had? Edgeworth's father was shot right in front of him.
Mr. Von Karma, your opening statement. Very well. No opening statements. Not so fast, Judge. I was taking a meaningful pause before speaking.
Ever one for the dramatic, are we, Von Karma?
Today's trial will end 3 minutes from now.
Order! Order! Mr. Von Karma, what is the meaning of your statement just now? Bah, must you question everything? It will be over in 3 minutes. We have no time to waste.
Dude, what's the hurry? Do you have, like, a previous engagement?
I am the proprietor of the restaurant, The Wet Noodle at Gourd Lake.
I guess even Von Karma doesn't approve of the whole pasta shop thing either.
Wait a minute. The witness hasn't stated his name yet. Because I did not ask him, Mr. Wright. Bah, I predicted this trial will end in 3 minutes. Stop asking trivial questions and cooperate.
Give me a reason to cooperate, you smirky butthole! Also, why so specific? 3 minutes? How impatient do you have to be just to get this trial out of the way so fast?
Very well, I'd like to begin the cross-examination.
There is nothing to question in my witness's testimony. Ergo, no need for cross-examination. Besides, there are only 10 seconds left before our 3 minutes are up. Judge, your verdict, now!
I promise this is the last time I ask. Is there any special reason you're so desperate for the trial to be done in exactly 3 minutes? What are you saying? Of course I'll cross-examine the witness.
Very well, you may begin.
Ah! Happy New Year! Also, that must have taken some serious planning on the writer's end to plot out the punchline working so well. Von Karma said it'll take 3 minutes, and by the time we get to this point, approximately 3 minutes really have passed in real life. The only way this joke wouldn't land as good is if the game was being played by a speedrunner, or if the player is just really slow progressing through the dialogue.
Witness, are you sure that the person you saw was Miles Edgeworth?
It was him that Edgeworth boy!
Are you referring to the fingerprints from Edgeworth's right hand found on the gun, and the photograph showing a man firing with his left hand?
Exactly. That is easily explainable. He could have wiped his prints after he fired. Wiped off his left-hand fingerprints, then put right-hand fingerprints on there afterward? Why would he do that? Wouldn't it make more sense to throw the gun in the lake after killing the victim? Also, if it was that easy to counter, why didn't you say this in the last trial? By that logic, there shouldn't even be a second trial day.
3 minutes was perhaps too high an expectation. However, 15 minutes isn't bad. This must be a new record.
It has not been 15 minutes since the proceedings began.
This court finds the defendant, Mr. Miles Edgeworth.
Oh no, I lost. Wait, this isn't a joke, is it?
Order! Order! Well, this is the first time something has happened like this in my court.
What, someone interrupting the verdict to give brand new testimony?
Allow me to speak my opinion. In all court proceedings, it is our duty to prevent an inaccurate verdict.
In other words, you're finally figuring out just now that you need to stand up to Von Karma and actually overrule his objections every now and then. Okay, so let me get this straight. The guilty verdict was called 15 minutes into the trial, then Larry interrupted, the verdict was withdrawn, and it was 13 minutes after the initial ruling that a recess has started. Are you being serious?
When he fell into the lake, I went into a daze. I couldn't understand what had happened. I couldn't think straight.
You know, maybe I've been too harsh. After all, it's not like he fired shots into the lake right for you to see, then jumped into the lake on his own accord. That's not an everyday occurrence, dude.
Von Karma has only ever run perfect trials. Perfect trials? Perfectly prepared witnesses? Perfectly complete evidence?
Then 15 years ago, he got called out on it, and he just kept going with it ever since because he is that evil. The recess was supposed to go for 5 minutes, but it actually went for 7. That's cheating. You only heard 1 bang? Are you sure? That's what I said! But Ms. Lotta Hart testified yesterday that she heard 2 bangs, and the old man just now said the same thing. They both heard 2 gunshots that night. Huh? Were you even listening? Yes, he was. In fact, the reason he even came to the stand in the first place, in his own words, is because the caretaker said something different from what Larry remembers. And come to think of it, why did this surprise Larry? This was the contradiction he heard to his own testimony, is it not? The witness said he remembers exactly what the DJ said when he heard the gunshot. And if we want to hear about what it was the DJ was saying, we're going to have to press that statement during the cross-examination. What did she say? How do you even know the gender? Larry never specified that. There was a loud noise in the lake at 11:50 p.m. That is why this photograph was taken. In other words, when Larry heard that gunshot, it was most definitely still Christmas Eve. But if that's the case, why didn't Lotta hear it too? She was the one that set up the camera.
There is no proof that the loud noise at 11:50 was a gunshot. Why, the witness could have sneezed, triggering the camera.
That is, assuming he was even near the campsite when he sneezed. Also, this statement itself has already been proven wrong. Lotta only said to respond to a sneeze after the first day of the proceedings. Something about this pistol was bothering me, Your Honor. Both of the witnesses who testified yesterday heard 2 gunshots. I'm sure he was referring to Gumshoe and Lotta, but Gumshoe never heard the gunshots. Wouldn't it be more accurate to drop the word yesterday from the line?
Remember the case of the Steel Samurai?
Huh? Yeah, of course I remember. The murderer in this case had the same idea as the murderer in that case. The crime in the Steel Samurai case was not murder, it was justified self-defense. Of course, it was the murderer who shot the pistol. He shot twice. Both missed Edgeworth, on purpose.
I know that I talked about the murderer firing 2 rounds into the lake on purpose a few times already, but now that we got to this point in the game, now is as good a time as ever to say this. The photo of the boat that Lotta's camera took suggests that the man at the front of the boat fired the gun, and the opening cutscene depicts the man at the back falling in the lake. But that doesn't make sense if the murderer was the one that fell in the lake after that same person fired the gun. You might be thinking, oh, maybe the camera was at a different angle than the opening cutscene, but it couldn't have been, because in both cases, the boat is pointed in the exact same direction.
Tell us why the murderer had to fire twice.
One of the options says because the first shot missed. In other words, we'd be contradicting ourselves, because we already said that the shots missed on purpose. So after the recess, we were in there for 2 hours, 47 minutes. We were just cross-examining Larry until we got to the point where I had to explain the murder method, and then we hear about the boat shop caretaker having taken off.
What was Mr. Edgeworth talking about?
A memory of a crime that I committed. A memory of murder.
He said a memory of a murder, actually.
Hey, I'm just a guy sitting in the audience, you know. But from where I was sitting, Edgy seemed pretty edgy.
Ha! Ha! I'm going to believe in you two until the end.
Us two?
Edgeworth and who else? You mean me, right?
Nah, he means me, right, Nick?
Yeah, you, Larry. Not me? Phoenix doesn't include his legal aid.
This is how it always is. Everybody ganging up and picking on one person.
Story of my middle school life. He's in pain, and no one's on his side. I'm the only one who knows the real Edgeworth. I'm the only one who can help him. I know there's still good in him, cliché.
Hey, Belle. Long time no see.
We only saw each other yesterday. Stop saying that. I got so worked up, I snapped my thigh in half. Then what's that around your neck? Just a spare? Looks like the hot dog stand is closed too. I guess Larry's too busy worrying about Mr. Edgeworth to show up for work. Last time we saw him, he was at our office, and it wasn't that long ago either, so why should it be any surprise he's not at the hot dog stand? What do you think Mr. Grossberg was doing here anyway?
Who knows?
That's actually a legitimate question. Grossberg has no reason to be out here. I can't believe he just run off and leave his poor parrot to fend for herself. Maybe he just didn't want to be cornered at the boat shop. Get your revenge on Miles Edgeworth. It also says, this is your last chance. Now is the time to get revenge on the 2 men who ruined your life.
The rest of the letter goes on to describe the murder plot in detail.
And we don't even get to open it up to actually read the whole thing.
He never trusted his clients, that one. The only thing he trusted was his own ability.
But he got his client found innocent, so why should it matter? Why should it matter? Were you not paying attention? Hammond always put not guilty verdicts over his clients.
Do you have any idea who wrote this?
I can't believe it's asking me this and giving me 2 stupid choices. Why would Edgeworth want revenge on himself? And besides, these are instructions that Yoki himself followed to kill Hammond. Don't give me this prompt, just say it's Von Karma and move on.
Oh, wait, you're right, my boy. This is Von Karma's handwriting, I'm sure of it.
How funny, because when I showed Edgeworth the letter, he didn't recognize the handwriting despite having practically lived with the man.
I hate to say this, but even accidental murder is murder, you know.
No, it's not! You're a lawyer! You should know the difference between murder and involuntary manslaughter! Murder is never accidental! Von Karma!
You. How do you know my name?
How would we not know your name? You're a feared prosecutor, not to mention the one presiding over the case we're representing Edgeworth in. We've been through this twice now. For the 3rd freaking time, why are we showing valuable evidence to the villain? How stupid does this game force you to be? Nick, run! Ah! Maya! Out of my way! Ah! So we're just going to completely ignore the fact that Von Karma zapped 2 individuals with a 600,000 volt stun gun in a police department records room. No security cameras, no one to lift a finger about what Von Karma just did. Okay. I'm no good as a lawyer or a medium. I can't even call my sister. Not even now when we need her the most. I wish I hadn't woken up at all. I'm sure that wasn't the designer's intention, but the way Maya closed her eyes here made it look like she just freaking died.
I remember. Von Karma was holding this when Maya jumped him.
What are the odds that she'd be able to snatch this specific piece of evidence from Von Karma before getting shocked? Not to mention, Von Karma not grabbing the plastic bag? That has to be pretty low.
Whoa! What are you doing?
Sorry, I'm sorry. So, is Edgeworth not going to question the electricity that Maya passed on to him? Or are we not going to question why he reacted like he got zapped with a bolt of lightning, even though a shock like that shouldn't be that strong? No? Okay. Witness, why did you run away yesterday? The witness was not running away, as he will now testify. That wasn't really something to raise an objection towards. Just let the witness answer on his own. He's capable of that. The witness has testified quite clearly that he has no memory of who he is. If you claim he's lying, then show the court proof.
How am I supposed to prove what's going on in that old codger's head? It's impossible!
Oh, woe is me! If only I didn't show Von Karma that letter from the caretaker's safe. Mr. Wright, please tell us this witness's name. Well, gee, who could it be? Certainly not the court bailiff I keep mentioning by name in my thought bubbles. Definitely either the current victim or the victim from 15 years ago. You see, before I worked as a caretaker, I worked at a chemical plant. I burned my fingers working with this stuff. Yep.
Oh, what? Yogi, you sneak! You burned your fingerprints off to hide your past!
I wouldn't put it past Yogi to do that, but it hasn't really been confirmed or denied either way. Well, if the witness has no fingerprints, I guess we will not be able to prove his identity. This is just a thought, but is it possible to run a blood test on the caretaker to see if he's Yogi, or did they just not collect Yogi's blood prior to DL6?
Your Honor, the defense would like to take Mr. Von Karma up on his proposal.
Take Mr. Von Karma up on my proposal?
Exactly, Your Honor. I would like to cross-examine the witness's pet parrot. Ladies and gentlemen, Phoenix Wright is making courtroom history.
That's quite a bird. Please tell us your name.
Name!
The witness is ignoring me.
What did you expect? You're talking to a bird.
Polly, have we forgotten something? That's not what you're supposed to say. Forgot. Something we forgot. Uh-oh, it's not working, Nick. She won't say it.
This is ridiculous. Why won't she say it?
Something the matter, Mr. Wright?
Wait, don't tell me Von Karma expected this. He couldn't have retrained the parrot, could he? Did he train her not to respond when we asked if we'd forgotten anything?
I'm not saying it's not possible for Von Karma to train the parrot not to say, don't forget DL6, but Yogi is the owner. He could just as easily, between the time he locked us out of the boat rental shop and the next day when he testified in court, retrain Polly to not say, don't forget DL6, just in case an event like this rises. Except, why did he train Polly to say that anyway? Polly, what's your name?
Polly, what?
Mr. Wright, I think we've established that this parrot is named Polly.
Yeah, in fact, we shouldn't have had to ask the parrot her name. It'd be quicker just to present the evidence that connects the name Polly to DL6, but game has other plans, I guess.
The DL6 case file? That's quite a large file you have there. Which page is this proof on, then? Show us or stop wasting our time.
Why do you think I'm pulling the dang thing out? Have some patience, man.
He wanted to remember the name of his fiancée who had committed suicide. That's why he named his parrot after her. I see. I guess it is possible. Bah! A mere coincidence, that's all. My granddaughter has a dog she calls Phoenix. Well, Mr. Phoenix Wright, does this make you my granddaughter's fiancé? She's only 7 years old!
Okay, seriously, to answer Von Karma's question, no, because as you can see, I'm still very much alive, and I love myself.
The DL6 case file? What is this obsession you have with that case?
What do you think it is? I'm trying to prove that the boat shop caretaker is the suspect from that case, you idiot! How do you have a perfect record again?
He used the date of the DL6 incident as the number for his safe, Your Honor. That's how important that date was to him. I see. It certainly is an interesting coincidence. People often do set their secret numbers to dates. Bah! This is not tangible proof. I set my ATM card's number to 0001 because I'm number 1. This has nothing to do with a date. Nothing!
Bad example on Von Karma's end. 0001 doesn't entail any specific date.
This witness, he doesn't remember. No, it's okay. I've accomplished what I wanted to do. I'm done.
Most people would say Vasquez has the calmest breakdown in the series, but honestly, I think Yogi's is calmer.
Your Honor, I object to your judgment!
For that reason, I shall point towards the defense.
I am guilty for DL6, the statute of limitations of which ends today. The culprit is me.
And he points to the defense bench again, but for what reason? No, there's no way we were in there for 4 hours and 24 minutes. All that happened in that time was the boat shop caretaker was questioned, the parrot and her perch were brought to the witness stand, Yoki confessed to the current murder, and then Edgeworth confessed to DL6. There's no way it should have taken that long.
But it's the truth. I deserve to be punished. Murder is murder, no matter the circumstances.
But you didn't commit murder. According to your statements, you only committed involuntary manslaughter. It's still a punishable crime, but the consequences should be nowhere near as severe. The recess was meant to go for 5 minutes, yet we're back in the courtroom in 6 minutes. That's cheating.
Look at this file one more time. This plainly contradicts the witness's testimony. You do enjoy dragging out that file, don't you? I don't accept this evidence. Unless you can tell us what page it's on.
First of all, why wouldn't I pull out the DL6 file? We're listening to Edgeworth confessing to the accidental killing of his father, which, as you may recall, is filed under DL6. Second, of course I'm going to tell you what page the contradiction is on! Why do you think your page is not every time I pull this thing out?
Your Honor, I think I'll be able to show you proof. What? Impossible. Now, Mr. Von Karma, save your surprise for after you've seen the evidence.
Tell him that every time I pull out the DL6 file.
So, let me get this straight. This photo proves 2 shots were fired? Where?
Your Honor, please get a clue.
I know it's customary for attorneys to explain their reasoning, but if I may draw your attention to the hole in the glass door of the elevator, which should be clear as day, just use your eyes, you might be able to see it.
Look once more at the DL6 incident case file. Look closely. Try the case summary page.
The case summary? That's on page 1.
Look what is written there. Not a single clue was found on the scene.
Well, actually, in more accurate words, it says no clues found on the scene.
Rah! It must exist. The second bullet.
What exactly is the reason for Mia's words? I'm sure it couldn't have just been Phoenix's memories of her wisdom. I think it had something to do with Maya being there, still trying to reach Mia.
Was there some pressing need for the murderer to search for that bullet?
This is a trick question, and what a stupid trick. Of course the murderer needed to get the bullet away from the crime scene, but this particular prompt does show Phoenix grasping at straws, which he is, but whatever option he picks, he's still grasping for straws and should be hearing Mia's words again to think outside the box. Unfortunately, that's not the case. If you say the murderer had to find it, you're only given 2 options for why, and neither of them are right. Thus, you're stuck getting a penalty. You have to say the murderer didn't need it in order to advance the story.
Well, you have indicated the possibility that the murderer came from outside. Can you give us the name of your suspect?
Uh-oh, should I come out and say it now?
Of course you should! Why is this even a question?
I would have needed surgery, no? Where did I go under the knife at, Mr. Wright? Bring the doctor that operated on me. Have him testify.
You know, with his long vacation, he could have had surgery performed to remove the bullet inside him in some faraway country. The DL6 incident was 15 years ago, after all. The evidence would prove to be useless by the time that bullet arrived in the US.
I know Von Karma, perhaps too well. He's perfect. He wouldn't leave clues. He probably didn't undergo surgery. That would leave a doctor as a witness.
I already gave a brief explanation. I'm not going to do it again.
Your Honor, the defense requests that we be allowed to use this metal detector. Judge, I call for a suspension of this trial. This is an invasion of privacy.
You already objected to it once. What makes you think a second objection would be any more effective, especially with a desperate counterattack like that?
Can you prove that the bullet in Von Karma's shoulder was from DL6? Of course he can't. You don't have any of the DL6 evidence.
If Von Karma was so perfect, why didn't he check the evidence he stole from the records room to see if everything's accounted for? Never thought you were missing a bullet, huh?
You may recall the term. It came up in the first trial 2 days ago. Ballistic markings are the fingerprints of a weapon. All bullets fired from a gun are marked with that weapon's unique pattern. By examining these markings, you can tell which weapon fired the bullet.
But those weren't the judge's exact words, though. These are the judge's exact words.
Ballistic markings are like the fingerprints of a gun. The barrel leaves distinctive marks on each bullet it fires. You can examine these ballistic fingerprints to see which gun fired the shot.
How did these flashbacks get so far off? They're in the same game.
I'll bury you! I'll bury you with my bare hands! Death! Death!
This breakdown is epic, but Von Karma should be getting a concussion from this. That was 3 hours and 8 minutes after the recess ended! Holy crap, these estimations!
Who, me? Oh, I went back to college. I gave up trying to be an investigative photographer pretty quick.
But then you're right back to photographing for a scoop in the next game.
It's Beyonce! She's going to live in Paris! Paris, Nick! She's leaving me behind!
Jeez, does this ladies' man personality know no end? Unfortunately, it doesn't. Just wait.
Yo, Nick, that's the suit that questioned me. When he says treat, that's not police talk for prison food, right? Right?
America.
Wasn't that exactly the amount of lunch money that was stolen from Mr. Edgeworth in school? $38? No, Larry, it was you!
When was Larry gonna give that $38 back? Was he gonna give that $38 back?
Whoa, I went a little overboard yesterday.
Sounds to me like a fairly light hangover for Phoenix to be awake at 5 in the morning.
Goodbye!
What time is it?
Ah! The first trains for the mountains have already left!
To the station!
What, you couldn't just call her on your cell phone?
You know, not to ring my own bell, but I sort of taught him everything he knows.
And what is that exactly? He says he doesn't mean to ring his own bell, but I sense a lie. Rise from the Ashes is a bonus case that was made for the first game when it was re-released for the DS, which is also how Ace Attorney was brought to America. It's also the reason why this opening cutscene uses computer-generated imagery. And just as interestingly, this episode also introduces new features that wouldn't be used in other Ace Attorney games until Apollo Justice. Of course, the reason is because Rise from the Ashes was made after the second and third games were already released in Japan, and I guess Capcom just didn't think to make bonus cases for either of those two games for the DS re-release. I wonder why they didn't do that. I guess it would have taken a bit too much time and they wanted the games to come to America as soon as possible. I should also talk about the name of the episode. Every episode in the Ace Attorney series uses the word Turnabout in the title, with the exception of any episode in the Great Ace Attorney duology, and this specific episode from the first game. The original Japanese title roughly translates to Turnabout Rebirth. Why couldn't they have used that for the English title? Instead, just give it a cliche name to reference the protagonist's name, and also as foreshadowing to the fact that this episode is about the revitalization of an old case by a new crime. I know what this is supposed to imply, but if one of the crimes took place in the prosecutor's office parking lot, which is underground, by the way, why are both shots of a silhouette holding a knife in a high level of a building? This flashback to SL9 is a bit misleading. The way we see the jar break very quickly after the knife is sent flying, that makes it look like the knife caused the jar to break. But that wasn't the case. The jar broke when it dropped to the floor. That had nothing to do with the knife. Also, that badger figure supposedly witnessed by the hostage, that jar was the badger. This is quite a lot of work to make sure you don't give too much away, even if you have to contradict yourself. It's been 2 months since Maya left the office. 2 months without a single trial. I've had offers, but none I took. Why? Don't you want to keep this law firm afloat? How are you paying the rent on this place anyway? It doesn't matter who I am, it only matters who you are. The famous defense attorney, Mia Fey. Is Emma seriously this behind on the news? A, Mia is female, and B, Mia is dead. Please, you have to help. It's my sister.
Maya? Could it be?
What's the connection here? Just the fact that Emma said the word sister? Also, this is what convinces Phoenix to accept the case? I'll be 16 years old this year. Oh, I see. Wait, only 16? Emma says she will be 16 this year, meaning she's still 15 at this time, yet her profile says she's 16. Huh. So what exactly is your current position then? Well, legally speaking, I guess you'd call me an 11th grader. But she's about to turn 16 this year. If that's the case, shouldn't she be a 10th grader? My name is Lana Sky. I'm chief prosecutor for this district. You're a prosecutor?
2 sisters, one a lawyer. Could this be a coincidence?
Absolutely. Other than the fact that Lana knew Mia from her academy years, there's no relation whatsoever. Allow me to repeat myself, Mr. Wright. The victim was a detective. You know what that means, don't you? Uh-oh.
What? Mr. Wright? What does it mean? Well, it means the police department will consider it a matter of pride to find me guilty. They will use any means at their disposal to do so.
A matter of pride for this particular individual, even if she turned out to be innocent? That sounds sketchy.
Still, I'm a little surprised. I would think you'd recognize the district's chief prosecutor, Mr. Wright.
Just because he works in law?
Time to change the subject. Wait, she was in the class ahead of Mia, wasn't she?
The only way Phoenix would know this is if you cleared all the talk options for Emma at the Wright & Co. law office, which you don't have to do. But if you don't do it, Phoenix's thought process of changing the subject to talk about Mia doesn't make sense. At least, not as it's phrased. Lana does mention Mia by name when you first meet her, so maybe instead, Phoenix should be thinking, wait, she said that Mia mentioned me, didn't she? Then when going through that talk option, Lana would be the one to talk to Phoenix about Mia.
She was strong. She'd do anything to become a defense attorney. Anything. That was probably why she was attracted to me. Excuse me?
Intellectually attracted. Lana was top of her class in school. Nice try with the save, Emma. I wish I could say it worked, but the internet still makes a deal out of Mia being attracted to Lana in a completely different way. So what, we just went from the detention center all the way back to the office? How come? I thought we should have been on our way to the crime scene after our discussion with Lana. Hey everyone, keep up the good work!
Hey, what are you thinking?
Well, they are going to be my co-workers 3 years from now, after all. No harm in saying hello.
Actually, there is. You know attorneys aren't supposed to examine crime scenes?
That didn't exactly stop you before.
Hey there! You expecting to go unnoticed here, partner?
Is there any canonical reason why Jake Marshall speaks and dresses like an old Western sheriff? Perhaps too many old Western movies got into his head?
Aha! A ladder. That's a stepladder. What's the difference? In scientific terms, please.
Well, Emma, a stepladder can be opened up to become two ladders that don't need a wall to lean against in order to stand up.
I'm called to duty already, and at my tender age. Here, I'll teach you the trick to examining evidence in detail, okay?
The trick to opening a wallet?
See? Well, isn't scientific investigation useful?
Does Emma have to make a big deal out of it? All I did was open a wallet and pull out an ID card.
You want to know who rides that red Mustang with the body in her saddle, eh? Please! No problem, partner. About time for victuals anyway. Get yourself to the saloon up on the 12th floor of the prospector's office.
All the other Western terms I can understand, but why does he call prosecutors prospectors? It's not the same job. I'm pretty sure giving the prospector terminology to detectives would make more sense than this, the way he's referring to the crime scene investigation as a gold strike.
You're selling lunches? Here? This is a crime scene.
Hello. Half and half, was it?
Oh, thanks.
And you, sir?
Yes?
Some crunchy goodness coming at you.
Is this usually how Angel conducts her lunch selling business? Just giving people random lunches even if they didn't order any? Kind of a crappy business, but it works, I guess.
Destiny? Was yesterday special for some reason?
You're a defense attorney, right? You should know then.
First Lana, and now Angel. You think just because I'm a lawyer I gotta keep up with what you prosecutors and police are up to?
The most heinous of all the evil ones, the one they awarded yesterday. It was in his car that they found the body, proof that he devours the evilest lunches of all.
What does she mean by this? She saw Lana stab the victim and she doesn't own the car.
Did you have a bad experience with the prosecutor, Miss Starr?
I sense some hostility.
Hostility?
Ha! Perhaps. Prosecutors are all alike, and the bigger they get, the worse they smell. Kind of like 10-day-old clams in the chowder.
You know, that didn't answer my question whatsoever.
It takes real nerve to display stuff like this. Whoever's office this is, they must be a real stuck-up jerk.
No kidding. Not to mention, this is Edgeworth's office we're talking about. Edgeworth is probably the last person I think would place a trophy on a sofa.
I'll warn you, I've been known to be a real stuck-up jerk.
No, did I? No, it was just Mr. Wright here.
Hey, don't blame me!
Yeah, Emma, what compelled you into that kind of defense?
Go ahead, say it right. You think I did it, don't you? After you went through all that trouble to help me last year, no less.
If you're joking around, this isn't really a good time to do that. Also, it wasn't as simple as last year. It was just 2 months ago.
Why did she stab someone in the trunk of my car? Not only that, she stabbed him with my knife. I know this knife isn't the real murder weapon, but it doesn't look like there's enough blood. The wound was a stab, not a slice. Edgeworth? What? Are you sure you didn't do it?
Come on, can't he take a joke?
The dude's been accused of murder before. I don't think you'd want to joke about that.
I made a clear request to the police department, did I not? I need to focus on the trial tomorrow, so don't bring me anything unrelated.
Maybe not related to the trial, but what if it's something very important still?
Forget the Blue Badger. Who's that next to him?
Phoenix, despite having seen Gumshoe in almost every case he's worked, doesn't recognize him when he sees him.
The chief of police himself is directing this investigation, pal, and Officer Marshall was assigned to the underground parking lot.
This is true, but Gumshoe's profile, just like the other episodes, still says he's in charge of the initial investigation, even though he's not.
Listen, pal, there have always been rumors about Mr. Edgeworth, forging evidence, making deals with witnesses, nothing outright, but they were always whispered rumors. Ever since he was accused of murder, no one's whispering, they're practically shouting.
Even though his name's been cleared?
Look, pal, let me try to make things a little easier for you. Show them this, and they'll let you examine the crime scene. Maybe.
But you're not even involved with the investigation. Apparently this is supposed to work?
No worries, this proves it's from Detective Gumshoe, better than a blood test. Guess I'd better let you in.
This works. Died within an hour and a half of 4 p.m.? Why not just say died between 4 p.m. and 5:30 p.m.? When you actually go to check on the report in more detail, it says that. But on the surface, the description just says something vague like within an hour and a half of 4 p.m. What the heck were all those words that came out of my mouth?
Each badge has a number carved into it. That way, you can tell which attorney it belongs to. You mean you couldn't lend your badge to anyone? No? I'd be found out right away.
Sure wouldn't stop Phoenix from giving it to Edgeworth 2 years later.
So wait, the victim must have died when the killer closed the trunk on him.
You have got to be the only person I know that would come to that conclusion.
Except she shouldn't have. Didn't we already establish the victim died from a stab wound by a knife?
Scientific analysis would suggest this belonged to the victim. I can't think of anyone else it could belong to.
Well, if it was your sister and the victim out here, if it doesn't belong to the victim, maybe it belongs to, I don't know, your sister? Also, Emma doesn't recognize her sister's cell phone. I can't believe we have to watch this whole process. The court record automatically pops up, then the cursor slowly goes over to the item we're examining, which is also automatic. It's not exactly too bad now, but later in the game, it gets worse. A defense attorney should never believe their client. If there's anything I learned from the last trial I was in, if I don't believe in my client, they might try to kill me 15 years later.
I hope that personal feelings will not be a part of the proceedings today, Mr. Wright.
How could they be? I barely even know the chief prosecutor, and you're the one prosecuting her.
You ordered the caviar lunch, right? Oh, caviar! I've never eaten caviar before.
The judge is really wolfing it down.
Yeah, Your Honor, the trial just started. Maybe you really did order it, but couldn't this wait until recess?
Very well, witness. Please describe the incident to us. The prosecution will wait. I'm not finished eating.
Hurry it up!
Very well, Mr. Edgeworth.
Phew, thank goodness that didn't take long at all.
Until 2 years ago, Miss Angel Starr was a special investigator with the police. She was a first-rate homicide detective.
What? Miss Starr was a detective? You mean you didn't know that, Emma? I don't believe you.
The crime took place by a car in the back of A block, in the car's trunk. The killer stabbed the victim with this knife and went to drive the body out.
So, according to Angel's take on the case, Lana not only stabbed Detective Goodman with Edgeworth's knife in the trunk of Edgeworth's car, she was also planning to steal Edgeworth's car just to dispose of the body. Angel's hatred for prosecutors really shines, doesn't it?
Mr. Edgeworth, your thoughts? Objection.
That had to be the weakest objection ever, Mr. Edgeworth.
Yet it was still stronger than your ever-feeble mind, Mr. Wright.
Edgeworth has a point. I had no business presenting Angel's photograph at the statement where she says something about the defendant holding the knife. That's not exactly contradictory, even though the description of the photograph suggests it was the moment of the crime. Angel even says that the moment she witnessed the crime, she snapped the picture.
This photograph was not taken the moment before the stabbing. This was taken the moment after the stabbing.
And how can you tell that?
Blood splatter.
Hello? Anybody home? Think, Wright, think.
See the dark crimson stains on the chief prosecutor's coat?
But it's a black and white photograph.
What does it matter that the photo was black and white? You'd still call that blood, wouldn't you? Unless you're going to suggest it's Hershey's chocolate syrup. This isn't Psycho. Also, the fact that these photos are black and white, even though technology at this time is clearly proven more advanced.
Great! Now the tide is turning in our favor.
Great show, Mr. Wright. My sister's as good as free. Premature celebration. You say she stabbed him again and again? But you couldn't have witnessed that.
Are you testing me? Then I'll test you. With my moss surprise. I'm afraid the moss is growing under our feet as we wait, Miss Starr.
Well, what do you mean?
I shouldn't have to explain this, but take a look.
Yeah, you really shouldn't have to explain this. I was the one who made the objection.
I always believed that no one could ever mistake ketchup for blood.
Haha, just wait a couple years. You'll see it for yourself. Miss Starr, I demand an explanation.
The witness is clearly not suited for detective work. What? The suspect was not wearing a scarf or muffler of any kind when she stabbed the victim.
Edgeworth! I made the objection first and was going to point out the exact same thing! I'm the defense attorney, not you! Is there even a good explanation for Edgeworth to butt in and point out the exact thing I was going to point out? Let me have this!
Ultimately, we couldn't shake the most important part of her testimony.
The most important part? I can understand Maya reading Phoenix's mind because she's a spirit medium, but how is Emma able to read your mind? She doesn't have any spiritual or psychic powers I know of.
I strike like a snake and bite like a cobra. That's me, Angel Starr.
That wasn't a very good metaphor. First of all, a cobra is a kind of snake.
Don't bother me with details unless you want to get bitten.
No thanks! Note to self, Mr. Wright is weak against poisonous snake bites. Oh, and I suppose you're not?
Oh, she's beautiful, but deadly. A predator, this one. A leopard woman. Rawr!
First Mia, now Angel. At this point, is there any woman not attracted to Lana?
I saw it all. How she tried the phone on the wall but had to use her cell instead.
This cross-examination is pretty BS. In order to be able to present the contradicting evidence to this new statement after pressing her about how she heard the word muffler, you'd have to first press this exact statement, as well as pressing the statement about reaching the defendant quickly. I'm not kidding! By pressing the second statement, you gather that Angel parked in B block and witnessed the crime from there, which you would have already guessed by looking at the floor plans and the photo she took. It's like the game is treating you like an idiot. Not to mention, what's the point of pressing the new statement about how Angel saw Lana trying to use the emergency phone on the wall? All that does is lay out the contradiction for you. Once again, the game treats you like an idiot and forces you to press statements you shouldn't need to press.
How many years have I been getting the better of men? To think that the tables could be turned. Today, a man has got the better of Angel Starr.
Are you a former detective or a prostitute?
If a witness is found to be lying, they're guilty of perjury. She knows this.
She wouldn't risk that without a good reason.
So tell us what her reason was, Mr. Wright.
Huh? Me?
Who else? Gee, I don't know. Maybe perhaps the witness herself?
You.
Yes?
You ordered the squid wheels, right?
Stop it with the lunches while you're at the stand!
I swear it. I swear it on my finest plastic spork.
You have a point, and the spork is a wonderful invention.
You know, that spoon-fork thing you get at Kentucky Fried Chicken? 5 minutes between the witnessing of the murder and the arrest. Think about it. You could make pasta in that amount of time, if you like it al dente. Not necessarily. Most pastas take about 10 minutes to be al dente.
My apologies, but we have no further questions to ask of you, Miss Starr.
Ah. Is this your jumbo lunchbox?
Woohoo! A triple-decker! Out of deference to the witness's determination, I'll allow one more testimony. Is that seriously all it takes to get more information from Angel? I've heard of judges being bribed before, but not with lunchboxes.
You must know the 2 rules of evidence law. Rule 1. No evidence shall be shown without the approval of the police department.
That didn't stop me from presenting Maya's cell phone, Cody's photo album, and a 5-year-old photo no one knew about. Why should we treat Goodman's shoe any different?
I'm sorry, Mia.
Right. Wed or not. Wait a minute, what? Why is Mia able to relay info to me? I can understand the previous episode because Maya was there, but now Mia's just able to relay information to me for no reason. Also, is there any special reason for Mia to have come to me just to remind me to look inside a car's exhaust pipe for a piece of evidence I really should be looking at myself?
What's that suspicious looking claw sticking out of the car's muffler? So what if there is something sticking out of the muffler? What does that have to do with the case?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. How do you know? Ever consider the question of why there's even anything in the car's exhaust pipe to begin with?
The court will adjourn for a 30-minute recess. It's lunchtime after all.
He's still hungry?
Whoa, hold up. It says judge when it's meant to be Phoenix's line. Thought I'd come take a look-see at how the trial's going. Looks like I'm late. They've got the home ranch locked down tighter than a fort in enemy territory.
Guess they didn't want to go for the obvious lockdown tighter than Fort Knox. So we adjourned for a 30-minute recess. When we were back in the defendant lobby, it was 11:56, so if it's 12:32 now, that means it was for 36 minutes. That's cheating. Hey, the temperature rose 5.7 degrees when that man came in. I know Emma's a scientific genius, but no way could she guess temperature increase with such accuracy. Get used to these long stares from Gant, people. Mr. Wright, you don't know the district chief of police? Seriously, is it really all that shocking for me to not know every little thing that goes on in the police department? Name's Gant. Damon Gant. Pleased to meet you, everyone. I'll have a vodka martini, shaken not stirred. How could they miss such a vital piece of evidence? If your investigators are this lax, how do you expect us to do our job? That's a good point. That cloth in the exhaust pipe isn't exactly that well hidden. Just to be sure, I'd like to take a look at this blade of this knife. The blade, Your Honor? Well, I don't see why not. Could you open it up for me, I wonder? Yes, well, I think all you have to do is push that switch and... If I cut my finger, Mr. Wright, I wouldn't be able to pound my gavel anymore. That's no excuse. Just point the knife away from yourself as you open it. Why does Phoenix have to be the one to open the knife? Well, there goes 10 seconds of my life. It could have been so much faster if the game just let me select the knife manually. This is probably one of the most creative ways to present evidence in a cross-examination I've seen in the game. The statement you gotta present the evidence to is where Gant asks about proof of connection between the Switchblade and Goodman, and the evidence you gotta present is the note you found in Edgeworth's trunk, the one which at first glance says 6-7S12/2, but if you angle the Switchblade right, you'll see something that looks like 6-7S on the evidence tag, which actually says SL92. It only looks like 6-7S12/2 on the note because Goodman wrote it while the paper was upside down. It's cool and creative, even if you have to first examine the evidence tag on the Switchblade, but is there any canonical reason for the note to have been upside down in the first place? What would have changed if the note wasn't upside down? Okay, here's the deal. I'll tell you one thing, and one thing only. One of the questions is on when the victim died, which is already in the testimony, 5:15 p.m. Kinda pointless to ask. You two make a good pair. It took my men 2 days to find out what you deduced right here. The connection between the dead detective in the evidence room plus the knife that came from the evidence room somehow winding up in the car's exhaust pipe? Witness! What is it, Mr. Wright? You're grinning like a schoolgirl on prom night. Okay, that's just hilarious. He stops upon realizing how stupid his supposition is about to be. Actually, I happen to have a police ID number here. Oh, is it yours? No, Your Honor. I'm a defense attorney, remember? And this is where the judge's scatterbrained personality takes full effect. Wait, that ID number we heard from the chief earlier, that started with 82... I've forgotten.
You didn't even get the first number right! Again!
Made worse by the fact that this time I actually have the ID card right here. I couldn't submit this evidence until a connection was proven in court. The connection was just proven by Wright over here. Wait, what did the top of that report say? Detective Bruce Goodman murdered in the police department evidence room. Detective Bruce Goodman is the victim in the prosecutor's office parking lot. You didn't need my help proving the relevance, especially if you had sent an officer to give the report to Edgeworth. No! No! No.
Glad she's in good spirits, but I'm not sure she's going to be much help with this.
Don't be so sure, Mr. Wright. I just got done thinking I wasn't so sure. Yeah, thinking, game. Emma's not a psychic as far as I'm aware. And why should she be? That would completely defy her scientific personality. Just give it a try. But me? Why do I have to do it? I'm a minor. I can't even drink yet.
We're testing bloodstains of this stuff, not drinking it.
And after the first test, we learned that Emma bought this fluid with her own money. She really bought something she wasn't going to use herself? I'm going to mark up the floor plans when we find a bloodstain, okay? Markings that we're never going to use in court? Sure. The navigation around the police station is confusing. You start at the police department entrance, and from there you can go either to criminal affairs or the guard station. Makes sense. From criminal affairs, you can go to the detention center or back to the entrance, but you can't go to the guard station. And from the guard station, you can only go back to the entrance. Of course, that changes once you get access to the evidence room. My point is, though, what gives? Why can I not go between criminal affairs and the guard station? Why can I only enter those locations from the entrance? And while we're at it, why am I able to go to the detention center from criminal affairs, but not from the guard station?
But my bigger question is, why do I have to go to the guard station first, only to be treated to basically nothing, then go back to the entrance in order to advance the story? There's no purpose to this. Coming back from the guard station just so Detective Gumshoe can tell you about the suspect they have down in detention? What does this add to the story? If you really needed him to tell me about the suspect of the police department murder, don't force me to go to the guard station first!
What I really need is a steak lunch from Lunchland.
Oh, you mean one of these? Actually, it's not for sale.
I think I just heard the sound of his heart breaking.
You sure did. In fact, you could actually pinpoint the second his heart rips in half. Oh my gosh, that sound!
Officer Meekins, so you're a guard here at the detention center?
No, sir! I'm not, sir! I'm a little lost patrolman! Like a little lost lamb, sir!
Why does the name tag for the dialogue box still say officer? We know his name now.
Perpetrator Officer Meekins reporting, sir!
Okay, now we have the correct name tag. What the heck was going on before?
Sir, I'm a patrolman with general affairs, sir! Sir!
Sir, stop with the freaking megaphone, sir! It's bugging the crap out of me, sir!
About your hand, did that happen during the course of the crime?
Well, you see, sir,
Don't you think you should just confess?
Didn't he technically already do that?
my eyes, sir! Everything went white when I awoke! I was here!
Wait, but Officer Meekins said earlier.
Then, when I opened my eyes, I was alone in the evidence room, sir! All alone!
So which is it? You awoke and you were either in the evidence room or the detention center. But this also creates kind of a problem. When Meekins was introduced, he was coming to Edgeworth's office to deliver documents on a murder he was suspected of. How is that possible if he woke up at the detention center?
Alleged he was undefeated in his 40-year career, but in court you fixed it so he was caught forging evidence.
Well, wait, I didn't do anything wrong. He did forge evidence. Not only did Gant have zero reason to try to make Phoenix the bad guy in the Gord Lake trial, all Von Karma really did in the Gord Lake incident was manipulate witness testimony. He didn't really fabricate evidence in that specific trial, though he did take the note to the killer from Phoenix after zapping him, and he took a bullet with him from DL6. Now, if you want to talk about the case he prosecuted before DL6, the only penalty he ever received, that's a different story. But for Gord Lake, we didn't catch him for forging evidence. We caught him for being the murderer in DL6 and masterminding the murder of Robert Hammond and framing of Miles Edgeworth. I was wondering if we could investigate the evidence room. Even though earlier we had no issue heading to at least the guard station before asking your permission. While we're here, I was wondering if we could ask you some questions. Sorry, cowboy, but I got no mind to tangle with you, hombres. You're busy then? Did I say that? I only said I didn't wish to speak with you.
Actually, you said you had no mind to tangle with us, hombres.
Context clues, Phoenix, context clues! So, what were you doing around 5:15 when the murder took place? Well, I reckon I was galloping the highway on the back of my steed, Zippy. Note, he was riding down the highway on his horse named Zippy. Emma with her notes and taking things too literal. Hey, I seen that somewhere before. Sorry, Bambina, I can't show you more than that. Huh? I haven't heard whether this is related to the case yet. But supposedly Detective Goodman was killed in the evidence room. Shouldn't he have needed his ID card? That sounds pretty related to me. So go ahead, investigate that room to your heart's desire. Knock yourself out. Gent didn't say desire, he said content. This takes place only 2 scenes after I talked to him. Why did they feel the need to change a single word? Did they think we were stupid? That we wouldn't notice?
Actually, I was put in charge of the investigation for today.
How come? You've been kept out of the prosecutor's office parking lot.
I'm adamant, though. I'm going to take control and put this case to rest in my own evidence locker, pal.
But you're not the one in charge of the investigation, so how are you going to do that?
Exactly, pal. The lock for each locker is coded with a fingerprint, so the only locker we can open is our own.
So they have a fingerprint scanner for the lockers, but not for the door to the evidence room itself? No wonder Marshall got away with sneaking in.
It was the last job he ever did. Detective Goodman, that is.
Huh? What do you mean?
Detective Goodman was the detective in charge of the SL9 incident, see?
Didn't we already learn this from our conversation with Angel? Why was Emma confused? Sounds like Detective Gumshoe leaves evidence hanging out a lot too. I bet he doesn't tuck in his shirt under that trench coat either. Every illustration of Gumshoe I found online would like a word with you. I'm not a professional. What's your opinion, Detective?
Pale blue blood. Maybe Detective Goodman was actually an alien.
It's like Detective Gumshoe has never used luminol in his life, nor did he even hear the blood test run on Goodman's shoe, which... Actually, that makes sense. But luminol? He's a freaking detective! I knew it! This is someone's right handprint. Why did we need to spray luminol to come to that conclusion? It's not like that bloodstain was really that well wiped away. It's right there.
This locker! It's mine!
It's yours?
Please, you have to help me when they come to take me away!
On that same note, do you honestly expect me to believe that Gumshoe wouldn't have been able to notice this bloodstain on his locker before I sprayed the luminol on it? Heck, he even opened his own locker earlier to demonstrate the new technology and didn't even notice the bloodstain. How dumb is he?
That's some pretty amazing stuff you got there, pal.
What, this? It's called luminol testing fluid.
Where'd you get your hands on that?
Huh?
I'd like to get some too.
You're a freaking homicide detective. You don't have your own luminol? Wow, someone must have broken something big to make all these pieces. Detective Gumshoe, perhaps?
There you go, pal, making me out to be some kind of hooligan.
This is the third time we accused Gumshoe of being a slob in this evidence room. First a piece of cloth sticking out of a locker that doesn't even belong to him. Next a glove on top of the police tape, except considering what we learn about the scene later, the glove should really have been on the floor instead of on top of the tape. But this is actually a separate sin. Then the third time is about the broken jar. Are we just making Gumshoe into a punching bag here? Mixed with the fact that there's a bloody handprint on his locker, not to mention the salary cut, sure feels like it to me. This puzzle is still tedious. And even after we put the jar back together as best we can, those pieces are still on the floor. Apparently, a new French restaurant is opening near here. I think he was trying to console me somehow.
The real info is on the other side, Edgeworth.
Edgeworth gets too much credit for being smart. Again. He wanted evidence for a case that wrapped up half a year ago. A blue screwdriver? Apparently it seems as if it was the same screwdriver we found in April May's hotel room in Turnabout Sisters, but for the sake of science, I compared the two. I have a feeling it's not the same screwdriver because the handles look a little different. It's just that, by some coincidence, half a year ago, I estimate sometime after the Mia Fey murder case, or maybe before, I'm not sure, but he was prosecuting a case that just so happened to also have a blue screwdriver. Yes, I will do anything in my power to win a trial. However, I do have a code, and I follow it faithfully. Clearly, your own mentor, Manfred von Karma, didn't have the same code that you have. First, we sprinkle the aluminum powder around. Huh? How do you do that? With the A button. See? Thank goodness for the fact that they are living in a video game. Otherwise, Phoenix just looks insane for even asking. Once the powder is well spread, just blow away the excess. Huh? How do I do that? Ah, Phoenix, it's like you've never blown before. Wait, you haven't, have you? Let's match it up right away. So we're not done yet? This is quite a process. Well, there's no point in finding a fingerprint and not knowing who the owner is, right? Duh, Phoenix, get your head straight. Look at the fingerprint data we got from Mr. Edgeworth and point out the person you think left these prints. Huh? How am I supposed to know who it was? This is really getting old. Please stop. It's as Mr. Wright suspects. The police are clueless. I figured as much, so I struck a plea bargain. A plea bargain? What do you mean by that? We agreed that if I told them the truth behind this simultaneous murder, they wouldn't seek capital punishment. That's what I mean, Emma. What kind of truth would they expect from Lana about the simultaneous murder? She didn't know anything about the events taking place at the same time she was stabbing Goodman. Now that's what sets Mr. Edgeworth apart. He sounds so on top of things, even though he doesn't know what's going on himself. And that's supposed to be an admirable trait? Honestly, yeah, I think so. Sir, it was me, sir! I'm the one who did it! I'll never kill anyone again, sir! You gotta believe it, sir! Urgh, that stupid megaphone again. Even the testimony titles say sir. I know I don't look the type, but I'm really into kung fu films, sir. The man let his guard down for just an instant, so I snatched his knife from him. And yet he still had his knife as he was leaving. About what time did you regain consciousness? No offense, sir, but how am I supposed to know that? I was unconscious. Phoenix didn't ask how long you were out. He just asked when you woke up. You don't have a watch, or is there no clock, or even the officer who smacked you awake didn't tell you the time? Yes, sir. That's absolutely right, sir. A videotape, sir.
I can demonstrate with a security camera in the evidence room.
What? But I specifically asked if there was such a tape and was told it had been mistakenly erased. Why would Edgeworth have been told that? There was no reason at all for that kind of message to have gotten to him. Okay, there's no reason at all for the footage to be this slow. It wasn't like that on the DS re-release. I'm not kidding. Just search up Ace Attorney security video on YouTube and compare the original DS version of the video to this version on the HD re-release. Also, this is the grounds for arresting Meekins. All we see is him approaching the other man, then getting slashed at, and the two get in a struggle. Then, not only do we see no dead body in the room, we just see Meekins unconscious, plus the fact that the evidence room has no visible bloodstains, except for the one on Gumshoe's locker. Make it make sense.
What the heck was that wriggling piece of plywood?
Edgeworth doesn't know about the Blue Badger for some reason. This tape seems to prove that the witness did encounter someone in the evidence room, and some sort of activity did take place. Are we talking about physical assault or rape? Mr. Wright, please show us this contradiction you speak of.
I have to point out a problem in the video?
Yeah. You're the one presenting the evidence. It's set up so you can fast forward, rewind, or pause the video. How exactly does that work? Does the judge, give me a remote to use for this occasion? Also, boy am I gonna need the fast forward in order to get to the contradiction I have to point out. Yet these controls aren't available to me if I just examine the security footage from the court record. Explain this to me! I found this near the locker, a thin rubber glove. But we can't be sure that was in the victim's locker. I'm sorry, what did you think was dropping from the locker when the man opened it? The defense has merely demonstrated that possibility and nothing more. The victim in the video was indeed Bruce Goodman. Then I suppose you have a good response as to why he would pull a knife on Officer Meekins? No? Okay. The security video did not show the actual murder. Someone explain to me why we needed to sit through all that video before we move on to the next line. We shouldn't need longer than 20 minutes to prepare. Very well, the court will take a 30-minute recess while the witness is subpoenaed. Edgeworth said 20 minutes, yet the judge calls for 30 minutes. That's cheating. Sorry, detective. You better be, pal. Hey! 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 Macho Man! The recess was supposed to be for 30 minutes, but it actually went for 42. That's cheating. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling wind calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor.
Howling wind? I never heard Edward described that way before.
And what, Edward just went with it? Unlike any other time he had trouble getting a witness to say their name. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Obviously, he's talking about how you're admitting to slacking off and not taking these proceedings seriously. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? Okay, so when Meekins gives his testimony about the security footage, I just present the tape and the game advances from there. But for some reason, it's not the same deal here. You have to actually press that statement. I don't understand. This is me going through the security footage and fast forward all the way to the end just to find the evidence I need, and it still takes too long to get to where I need to present something. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! No. Also, drop the partner from the first sentence and the whole thing would have been perfect to sum up Marshall's reaction in 8 words or less. No matter how well you disguise yourself, you can't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open that locker yourself.
But he could because a rubber glove just happened to get stuck in the door.
Of course he couldn't have known about the fingerprint-activated locks, but it only makes me wonder even more what he would have done if that glove wasn't stuck. Officer Meekins certainly is a 1 in a million type of person, mistaking a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. 1 in a million indeed. In fact, I should have asked this question earlier, but what made Meekins mistake the man for an intruder anyway? I mean, we know now that it was Marshall in disguise, but Meekins didn't. Which, in turn, means only one person could have committed the crime. Chief Prosecutor Lotta Sky. But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. And it would have been if the matter of the murder at the police department wasn't brought up. Think! What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. We have never heard that slogan throughout the whole course of this episode until now. Officer Meekins cut his hand, from which a trivial amount of blood fell. The problem is, the other time. Was it really necessary to force me to watch the footage until it pans back to Meekins on the right side when he's unconscious? It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. On what grounds, Edgeworth? You've got nothing. It doesn't take a lot of thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid I don't understand either.
Aside from lack of motive, as Edgeworth explains, it's a 10-minute gap between his entry and Meekins' first entry. If he was the killer, he would have been arrested much sooner because Meekins was just coming around to put the Blue Badger away. At this time, we wouldn't be able to clear him of the charges, and the rumors would only get worse.
Find out whose ID number is 77777777.
Why is the judge's attempt at naming the number written like this?
The ID number 77777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher.
How do you know that? You haven't even tried looking it up yet, have you?
No. No!
No. So that means you. Yes, I was a witness in the Joe Dark trial.
I didn't see that one coming.
I'm sure Phoenix was referring to that one as Marshall having died trying to save Emma from Dark, but the way Phoenix thought this after Emma confirmed she was a witness made it seem like that was what he didn't anticipate, even though it's right there in the SL9 file. I couldn't bring myself to testify about that instant. I tried, but the words just wouldn't come out. I drew a picture, but it wasn't any good.
2 years ago. You must have been 14. That's understandable. And again with the misconception of age. Emma says she will be 16, meaning she's still 15, but her profile says she's 16, and to bounce off the profile, 2 years ago she was 14, even though she should still be 13 considering the timeline of events.
But Lana was the chief prosecutor, wasn't she? No, silly, didn't I tell you? 2 years ago, Lana was a detective.
No, this is my first time hearing of this.
Howdy, Bambina. Wait, he hasn't had his arrest processed yet? This guy stole someone's identity and tried to steal evidence.
There's one thing for sure I found out in court today. That boy Edgeworth isn't my enemy. He was the one who used falsified evidence to get a guilty verdict. But someone else was the one who gave him that evidence and planned everything. That someone is Damon Gant.
You couldn't have figured that out sooner? Sir, we'd like to have a look around Chief Gant's office.
Just use the connecting hallway to the other building and take the elevator to the top floor.
Wait, that quick? The Chief of Detectives isn't going to ask us why we want to look around Chief Gant's office? Emma the scientific investigator doesn't know subtlety. Also, this is how Gant knows we're here, just by Emma playing the pipe organ.
That falsified evidence 2 years ago. Now Mr. Edgeworth has the whole world after his blood.
The whole world? Not just his country or state? Dang.
What are you doing with that? Ever since that case was closed, that knife's been locked away in the locker.
The fact that this knife somehow got in Edgeworth's car muffler is news to Gumshoe, yet he knew that the murder supposedly took place in Edgeworth's car trunk using Edgeworth's knife.
One day on his way home from work, he hit someone with his car.
With his car? So it was an accident?
An accident, yes, but it transformed him into an animal.
An animal?
He killed a man that witnessed the accident, then he killed a lady who saw the second crime. A kid walked by just then, so he killed him too. Then when he was burying the bodies, a jogger came upon the scene and was killed as well. Finally, he turned himself in.
So, let me see if I got this right. He first hit someone with his car by accident, then he killed anyone else that came across his crimes. In which case, that doesn't really make him a serial killer. By definition, a serial killing is at least 3 murders committed over a significant period of time, often a month, and the murders themselves are separate events occurring at different times and at different locations, usually done at a psychotic thrill or pleasure. This guy's just killing people that stumble across what he had done within the same general area. By the sounds of it, he was just trying to hide his crime. He didn't commit any of these killings for thrills or sexual compulsion. The closest I could think of for thrills is when he tried to kill Emma before Neil Marshall fought him. Also, if we look at the list of victims in the SL9 report, we notice the list is out of order. According to Gumshoe, first he hit someone with his car, then he killed a man, a woman, a boy, and a jogger. Then, of course, his last murder was Neil Marshall. Out of all the victims, the hit-and-run victim and the jogger were the only 2 that didn't have their gender specified. But still, things are a bit screwed up. Edward Jones is listed first, so let's assume he was the hit-and-run victim. Then Jason Knight and Edith Kirby. That seems to line up. But Rachel Moss? I don't think that was the child Joe Dark killed because the child was specified to be a boy. The only other male name left on the list aside from Neil Marshall is Jeb Bates. If that's the name of the child, that should mean Rachel Moss was the jogger, unless Edward Jones was supposed to be the jogger, making Rachel Moss the hit-and-run victim, or... No matter which way you look at this list of victims, it's still out of order. How about this ID card? It was Detective Goodman's.
That won't work either. The data was deleted the day he died.
They can delete the data of ex-employees, but they can't change the fingerprint locks on Marshall's evidence locker after he got demoted? If that's so, then why were you only given a shield?
You'll have to ask Chief Gant. 2 years ago, he had the halberd part of the award abolished.
Yeah, it's true that the SL9 is involved a broken knife, but that's not exactly a good reason to remove the broken knife from the award. It's not like the broken knife in the award is a real knife, right?
Damon Gant's magnetism in particular was almost unreal. His magnetism? By that I mean his ability to attract evidence. He produced the most incredible evidence in the cases he handled.
Incredible evidence? You mean...
Oh yes, there were rumors about him even back then.
Rumors about Chief Gant? I only know rumors about Edgeworth.
Ah! Detective Gumshoe! What are you doing sneaking up on us like that? I wasn't sneaking. I was just worried something might go wrong. So I came too. If you're here, then what's the point in giving us your ID card?
Wow, we really are making Gumshoe into a punching bag. Also, that was a valid question. Why not just have Gumshoe come with us, still holding the ID card? Instead, you need to give us the ghost slapping joke a second time. Don't get me wrong, it was funny the first time, but it wasn't worthy of a repeat. Also, what does it matter that we're crushing Gumshoe's ID card? He's gonna get fired anyway. What a very convenient safe, having a 7-digit code, and we already have a piece of evidence we haven't fully completed yet, leaving behind a very big clue now that we've come this far.
Say, anyone care to look inside?
Why do I have to select examine again just to check the safe? In fact, why not just have checking the safe be automatic? Sprinkle the powder on the cloth, then once they've been absorbed into the prints, blow the rest away.
What are you, my mom? I don't have to be told a million times.
This is only like the second time we're examining fingerprints, dude. We didn't think you'd be back so soon. Fortunately, I'm a man who believes in signs. As I was walking to my meeting, I happened to look out the window and saw a stray dog run right into a pole. Just then, I thought of a certain detective. And from there, you just deduced that there was some trouble in your office? Sure. Oh, you in the coat.
Me, sir?
Drop off your ID on the way out. You won't be needing it anymore. Except for the next 2 games where you're on the force again. You with the spiky hair, you're free to go. And he's just letting us go like that? He's not going to ask us to leave the stuff we found?
It seems Edgeworth was right.
Edgeworth?
Once you're convinced you know something, no one can persuade you otherwise. Thick-headed is the term he used, I believe.
Single-minded, actually, but whatever.
I couldn't just leave that knife in him. So I took it out and stabbed him with another knife.
That would be Edgeworth's knife.
That's right. Even though he was already dead, my hands were shaking at the thought of stabbing him. That's why I ended up cutting my hand.
Under those conditions, it would have been incredibly difficult to not only take out the original knife and stab him in the exact same spot with a different knife, but also do it really fast.
Right. Then I called my sister to tell her what happened, and to ask her to hide the knife that was inside my muffler.
But wait a minute, earlier Emma said Lana hung up soon after making the call and nothing more. If that was a lie, is it because she didn't want Phoenix to lose confidence in the defense? I could see that, but it only begs the question, how much did Lana tell Emma if we got so little information?
You've earned my respect, Mr. Wright, both as a defense attorney and an investigator. Now please, don't pursue this any further in court tomorrow.
Empty words, you know I'm going to go deeper no matter what you say. In any event, once all doubt has been removed from that list, I can call for a ruling. 5 minutes, Wright, and Chief Prosecutor Skye will be found guilty. The doubt we're talking about is the last number on the ID number list. But why call for a guilty ruling? The last number is supposed to be for the true culprit in the evidence room. Why not charge Chief Gant just the same? On February 21st of this year, I murdered Detective Bruce Goodman in the underground parking lot of the prosecutor's office. There's just one element of your final statement missing, and that is with the knife. The prosecution may lack direct evidence against me, but it has sufficiently proven its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. Except in most of these cases, the defense just the same proves its case through testimony and circumstantial evidence. Yet because of something flimsy, we still don't get our way as often. These courts are biased for the prosecution, obviously. Mr. Edgeworth, please remember this trial concerns the murder of Detective Goodman. Is an incident that was resolved 2 years ago really all that relevant? Yes, it most certainly is. Well, okay then.
He sure gave in fast.
I know, right? No extra questions regarding relevancy, just a simple yes from the prosecutor and you're all on board.
The trip to yesteryear has finally begun.
Actually, this is a trip to air yesteryear. Oh wait, that's not a word? Air yesterday referring to the day before yesterday is a word, albeit an obsolete one. Why isn't air yesteryear a word? I'm getting off topic. The point is, Phoenix is not right. It's 2 years ago, not 1. That's that thing! That thing that was dancing in the evidence room!
Clearly, this act of vandalism is the work of a certain chief of detectives.
Act of vandalism? The Blue Badger? This is a pretty stupid contradiction. What you're supposed to do is present Neil Marshall's autopsy report to the statement, and then point at the knife depicted in the drawing. Apparently, it was supposed to be the man holding a knife that was already broken before Marshall was stabbed. This turned out to be true, but I'm not really sure I got the impression of broken knife when I first came across this portion. Though, that could be my fault. If it wasn't broken, the tip would be more pointed. But this is a 13-year-old kid's amateur drawing. How was I supposed to tell?
If the victim was only stabbed once, then the murder weapon should not yet be broken.
Ah! What's the meaning of this?
Perhaps the knife was broken beforehand.
Edgeworth once again makes an idiot call.
As we earlier concluded, the knife in the drawing was not Joe Dark's knife. That being the case, the knife the witness saw was in all likelihood from this award.
So, are we saying the broken knife from that award is easily detached?
Because if the King of Prosecutors award knife was the murder weapon, then the murderer and the victim would be reversed. What do you mean?
What do you mean, what does he mean? Use some common sense and figure it out.
The Chief of Detectives hadn't even designed him until this year.
Hadn't even designed.
Please show us this mysterious Blue Badger look-alike.
Out of all possible pieces of evidence from the SL9 incident, it had to be the unstable jar that Emma saw as the shape of the Blue Badger head, and the timing and position was just that convenient, I guess. Also, as we later learned, the jar never actually fell, so how did Emma see this? I enjoy this episode, but I think I speak for everyone when I say this part is the worst. Even if you have a good idea how to angle the jar in order to get the right perspective, like I do, it's still highly unlikely that you'll get it right the first time, no matter how many playthroughs you've done. The main problem is that you have to be so precise with what the game expects from a good submission of the Blue Badger look-alike, and the explosion sound effects and Edgeworth's objection soundbite will probably drive you up a freaking wall with all the attempts. Thankfully, your confidence gauge never goes down for each failed attempt, but that just adds to the frustration. Yeah, this part sucks.
If the man was knocked in the direction of the shelf the jar was sitting on, what would he have hit?
Ah!
The suit of armor, holding a very sharp and dangerous looking sword.
That's not necessarily true, and while we learn of Emma's innocence later, it makes no sense that Phoenix even thinks of suspecting Emma in the first place. If Neil hit the shelf with the jar first, no way should he be making his way to the suit of armor from any rebound, except it turns out he didn't hit the jar at all, but Phoenix didn't know that.
Mr. Marshall died because of me?
No! No. Wait, that 1206 doesn't have... Where's the PM?
The chief prosecutor also wanted me to give you a message.
A message?
She said if you're planning to take him on, you're going to need this book.
Mind you, we're talking about the same chief prosecutor that wanted me to pursue the matter no further and was even getting on my case when her little sister fell under suspicion. Why is the PM still missing?
You do realize this is your last chance. If you call the wrong witness, this trial is as good as over.
He says it's my last chance, but I only get the same penalty count I usually get for a wrong guess.
My name is Damon Gant. I'm the acting chief of police.
The acting chief of police? Since when? I thought you were just the chief.
You are aware, of course, that a police chief has all kinds of weapons at his disposal.
Weapons?
Sure. Take my testimony, for example. I don't have to give it if I don't want to.
I'm not sure how the law works in Japan, but in the US, the police chief doesn't have that kind of right. I mean, yeah, there's the Fifth Amendment where you can refuse to testify if what you say could incriminate yourself, but the police chief has been subpoenaed to the court, meaning he can't refuse to testify regardless of position without repercussion. Duke could be arrested for contempt of court. Apparently, she had already arranged the crime scene. As you can see, I had nothing to do with the forgery. What's with the quotation marks? Obviously, there was some forgery going on if Dark was arrested for the murder of Neil Marshall, despite not committing it. So, you admit to it then, that you were involved in the forgery?
Who, me? Or do you mean you?
Me? Why would I have anything to do with that? Why indeed? If this is an attempt to deflect the blame, it's a dumb one. We're talking about a jar that before the last trial date was only ever seen fully intact in a picture, and half of an evidence list that Emma scribbled on. Gant's claim of Phoenix being the forger is ludicrous.
Rest assured, Dick will receive his due punishment.
What? If Detective Gumshoe's salary drops any further, he'll end up paying to work! Gumshoe got fired, remember?
Remember, who was it that murdered Neil? I'm not sure I care for the word murder here.
Finally, you start to get it. Murder is not the same as involuntary manslaughter. Where was that realization during Edgeworth's trial for DL6?
He would be able to use the chief prosecutor as his puppet.
Essentially, he would acquire unchecked authority over all investigations. Do you mean to tell me that despite the chief's formidable appearance, he plays with puppets? Get a clue, Your Honor, get a clue. On that day, you had to have met with Detective Goodman. What do you mean? This trial's purpose is to determine Lana Sky's guilt. By that logic, the purpose of the trial of Larry Butts was to determine his guilt. Same with Maya Fey, same with me, and Will Powers, and even Miles Edgeworth. Seriously, Your Honor. Order! 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 What's going on here? Is there no room for rebuttal to the defense's outrageous accusations? Apparently not, Your Honor. Apparently not. The judge called a 15-minute recess. It was 2:04 p.m. when we were in the defendant's lobby, so really, we came back 17 minutes later. That's cheating. The broken prosecutor award knife was stuck in the victim's body. This turned out to be false, but wait, the knife from the award was also a real one? First a samurai spear and now a knife from an award? What's with this city? But Prosecutor Marshall died from an unfortunate accident. Why are you putting accident in quotations? I hope you're not implying this person was Chief Gant. At the time, he was looking for Dark downstairs. Besides, even if he was there first, why would he break the jar? The question is, if he did arrive there first, why did he hide that fact for 2 years? Well, Your Honor, can you answer us that? No! Funny idea for a false breakdown, but not really that great in execution. While shouting no, which is a separate sin on its own, he just shook his head in a normal animation. Don't believe anything Mr. Wright says. Defense attorneys make up the most foul lies to defend their clients. Where'd she come from? The Kingdom of Kurain? Boy, am I glad to finally have actual manual control over the court record at a point when it requires me to examine evidence. So, Lana took a picture of the crime scene as she saw it, and she kept it? Why? I thought she never wanted SL9 to ever be reopened. When I arrived, I found Mr. Marshall's body impaled on this— HOLD IT! Oh, screw you, Gant. I was just about to cross-examine my client. Also, hold the heck on. I thought you had already gone out to lunch.
Should I present that piece of evidence? The one that shows who really killed Prosecutor Marshall?
This is probably the only instance I can think of where you're asked to present evidence that you're meant to present, but what you need to do is reject the initial proposal. If you say yes, then present the cloth, you get a bad ending where Emma is convicted for killing Marshall and Lana is convicted for killing Goodman. It's a pretty dirty, though reasonable trick, and boy am I glad I haven't come across any more episodes that do this. I knew Lana, if I made it look like the blame lay with her sister, that when she saw the scene, she would ask me for my aid. This dude's basically confessing before we even get to the breakdown. I wasn't about to let anyone blame me for a murder that girl committed. You just said that you manipulated the scene first to make Emma look guilty, and now you're just gonna still pretend she didn't? Make up your mind! See this jar fragment? I hit the most legible part of Emma's name. I don't know, man. That still looks like Emma. The person to whom these fingerprints belong to is... First off, that sentence is grammatically incorrect. The actual way to say it is, the person to whom these fingerprints belong is. Second, I have to present the profile to whom the fingerprints belong? Didn't the evidence description itself already tell us? Aren't you going to tell us how it feels? How it feels to be the one who single-handedly turned a poor little girl into a murderer? Manslaughterer! No! No. Who is he, the freaking Joker? I'm sure we'll meet again someday. Except for the time being, we still haven't. Stop hiding and come over here.
Where was he hiding?
Where was he hiding indeed? Basically, I had to bribe a guard in order to sneak her out for 30 minutes. Believe me, it wasn't cheap either. Huh? Way to go, detective. I didn't know you had a wild side. Yeah, well, you'll see, Mr. Wright is the one who'll be footing the bill. You freaking jerk, Gumshoe. Having someone else pay for your bribery? Oh, how nice. We're getting a whole other credit sequence after completing this episode. Yikes! I thought I was a goner for a moment there. In the end, though, they overlooked my unauthorized investigation of the chief's office. So you're back on the force, huh? Way to put us on edge for a sec. I'll show them, though! Someday I'm going to make detective!
Yes, sir! Then I can be just like Detective Joe!
Haha, man, you wish. Well, cowboy, it looks like you did it.
You even gave Bambina back her smile.
Wait, so I guess for all the extra dialogue here, they're talking to Phoenix? Does that mean he's seriously going around the station talking to everyone involved?
I'll never forget what that young defense lawyer said after the trial. Let's see, what was his name again? Mr. Left?
Okay, I guess the judge isn't speaking with Phoenix this time. In that case, who is he talking to?
Well, anyway, I've got another trial to get to, so I better be... Huh? Oh no, I forgot my gavel! Sorry, gotta go!
That dialogue made it sound like he was just getting done presiding over a trial before he had to go to another one, yet he forgot the gavel? Still, sometimes I do miss hearing you and your objection. I guess this means Maya and Phoenix are still in touch with each other via cell phone? That's the only explanation I have for this. Whenever I want to see Lana, all I have to do is open this book. Oh, what? I gotta do more interaction after the credits are already done?